media's now back in session.
The media's back and said, do I have to hit a hammer now?
You can if you want, you're the chairman.
Media back in session. Let's go, guy, get her done.
You got the dang thing for it.
I don't know why you're on this hammer, but it's here.
You might as well hammer if you can.
Yeah.
You in charge.
Yeah, I'd be in charge, yeah. Application for a conditional use permit, huh? Have you heard? Okay.
Gavel's like an atomic bomb, Mr. Chairman, you don't wanna have to use it, but you're glad
But
you
if you
have
have
it
to
when you
use
need
it.
it.
If you need it, it's there.
I'd never forget when you use it, it's good.
It has to happen sometimes. It
Once
has
in a
to
while.
happen.
And it's too bad it has to happen.
There's something about that thing hitting that though, I think, it stops.
You guys are, hey, you guys are more than welcome to
Get
reach
people
over
to
to the
get
down
on
and
it.
get some donuts too, cause you brought enough for a small army, so.
Already here.
Okay,
Are you
guys,
trying to put us into a food coma, or?
application for conditional use permit, Emmons Logan Energy Storage Project. Good morning.
Good morning again.
Yes, sir. Thanks for the donuts and the coffee.
Of course, yes. Please take any extra share. Spread them far wide. I believe we're on the agenda for the application that was submitted to get a public hearing date
Yep,
for the
yep.
Any questions or need from me?
Anybody have questions in regards to the packet? Everybody got to look over the packet of material? I did look at it this morning. Okay, got it this morning.
No, I really didn't look it over very well.
And
This wasn't compiled in an hour, was it?
many hours. And then also, I just while we were out there, I saw the replat was on the agenda as well, and I just to go over that, we had talked about the replat a few months ago. Just to explain it, all we did was extend it so that we weren't leaving the county or the landowner with any weird sections of land that he couldn't use, but were still not platted for us. So we just extended it just to make everything even up. So here we extend it to the north just to get the,
That's a section line, is it not?
No, this is just their access road to the turbines.
we just extended up to that access road for the turbines just to make it better for planning purposes.
This line will get deleted.
Again, this is the first one that will ever be in what, the United States?
No, sir, in North Dakota.
North Dakota.
Yes, sir. We currently have somewhere around 60 operating nationwide right now, or my company does.
Do you have liners under these sites?
Excuse me?
Do you have liners under these sites in case of leaks to catch?
No, sir. The base is substrated rock, and then the containers are put on piles. So there's no
Containers or what?
the containers are put on piles.
Okay.
What you're asking would be part of the container itself. Each container has its own bottom.
They can catch if it leaks, it
Yes, sir.
catches, okay.
Can they leak? They're lithium, aren't they? They're dry.
They wouldn't leak. And we, again, for the fire safety portion, there's no water going on these, there's no fire suppression system going on these for that reason.
Have any of you guys ever contacted any of the other locations?
I've done quite a bit of research on
Have you?
it. Yeah, there's been some issues through the years.
There was a couple, so I believe one of the sessions I brought something on it, but some publications. There were some recent thermal events over in California.
Yeah.
Different technology. Those were, I think the bigger one was indoor. They had reused a facility that was already there, and they did a indoor facility. So all the batteries were inside of that's not part of an FPA 855 or anything that we would be doing here. So totally different technology, different type of project.
Says here in 25, there was a fire at Vista Energy, and it burned for 6 days.
And part of
Blanketed
that,
the whole area with toxic heavy metals.
no, so the EPA actually started air quality testing right when that fire started, and they continued until 12 hours after the incident was done and everything was done. And those publications are available online as well, but they found no dangerous elevations of any toxic gas or anything they put several locations throughout different neighborhoods and downwind, upwind, everything. But that was the other one,
I
that
wasn't
came up.
sure I'd want one too close to my house.
Yeah, I wonder what the closest farm is.
Schmidt,
Yeah, to the north,
just to the north, is he not?
3/4.
Yes, sir.
of a mile.
Jacob-
3/4 of a mile.
Jacob
Well,
Farms to the
When
south.
hardly ever blows out of the south in this state, so.
Well, not as much,
You're
more from the north.
Somewhere down the line,
related.
but the,
Is that 3/4 to the south?
Yeah, about 3/4 south and 3/4 north.
Yeah.
James Schmidt's up there and then Jacobs.
Rod Jacobs' place to the south.
No, he's about,
Weigels have to be to the east of that, right? Terry?
They're a good ways out.
Yeah, there it is.
So these have heat, air, do they cool in the summer and heat themselves in the winter, and then are they vented at all, or everything's sealed? They are vented?
Yeah, I mean, there's venting,
Does that lock down in case of a fire? I mean,
it does what it needs to do for, any elevation and, you know, if there was some type of elevation in gas or whatever, but, you know, again, these things are monitored in our, control center from Juneau, as with all of our operating assets, 24/7, so any elevation in, voltage or any type of anomaly in gas, I mean, there's a lot of systems in place to, and then they are HVAC, cooled and heated.
What does each unit weigh?
Each unit, I believe, weighs about 100 tons all in.
100 tons?
Yes, sir. Around that, 100 to 110, I believe.
And what's,
You mean each container?
They are, yes, I believe they're
100
about
ton per
70,000 pounds, I think I'd have to look it up. It might be
what's the difference?
100,000 pounds, not 100 tons. I gotta-
Okay, 100,000 pounds, cause yeah, when he said 100.
Yeah, I think 110,000
I didn't know them
pounds
containers
Oh.
could hold that, yeah,
Per
okay.
container.
per container.
And you're proposing how many containers? 20?
No, this project, let's see where we would end at here.
A lot of freight weight coming.
It's outlined in the, application, that's what we did the, fees on, but, end of life containers, 186 would be the max amount that we think we would need with augmentation throughout the whole life cycle of the project, so the end of life, end state of the project would be maybe 186, and, the beginning would be about around 138. That's what we'd be constructing, 138.
yeah.
So each container, when if there's an anomaly that they detect, they can shut that container down?
Yes.
Send out a team, they take a look?
Yep.
Fix it before?
What's the dimension on one of those?
They're, I could get that, but they're like shipping containers.
They're what?
The shipping containers, like 40-foot shipping
40
containers.
foot long.
Okay,
Yes, sir.
What,
Like 10
wide?
feet, I think.
Yeah.
10 by 45.
Yeah, I'd have to look at the, I think we have that specifically outlined in the application, I could look.
So each container would have smoke, heat, and gas detectors, I presume?
Yes, sir.
So you'd bring in a crane, big time crane to set them?
I don't know the exact equipment, but, I believe it'd probably be a crane. And we could probably go over that during, when I have, some of the engineering and construction, people here for the, CP.
And what's your timeline for completion? From start to finish?
We would be looking to COD, go commercial operation in, December of next year.
Okay,
Looking to mobilize, I mean, a lot of it will be dependent on the winter, mobilizing towards the end of March.
you would start the end of March and then,
Yes, sir.
is there any concrete poured for any of this or not?
I don't wanna say there's none, because I'm not sure if there's gonna be some smaller infrastructure pieces or something, but, as far as the containers and inverters, they'd be on, piles, on the pylons.
So this whole area would be covered with gravel?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And where would you procure the gravel from?
I'm not sure about that, I know they try to go local and then, you know, that would be from the EPC to, procure that, but.
We're short on gravel as it is.
Well, but we did have them come in here and, what's their faces, they're mining a bunch of gravel they wanted to sell us. The guys that were,
Oh, Shabinsky?
yeah,
Rinsky's. Yeah, but that's
We
waste.
might be able
Well,
to
I'm
use
just saying,
that.
though,
We might could use that
they'll dig it
down
out
south.
10 miles deep if they have to sell it, so.
Well, they would probably, yeah.
Well, I'm sure they got a projection or a figure what they need for their base
Yeah.
or whatever.
Right, right.
And how many units you need.
I don't have those figures right now, and, you know, stages wise, we go through different stages of the engineering, you know, so by the time we get through, permitting and before we get to construction is when we'll have like 100%, engineering specs. So right now, those are still being done, I believe we're at, either 60 or 90% complete right now, which is, it's standard for the timeline.
You wanna say something?
I just have one, just a quick question, so Emmons Logan Energy Storage, I'm assuming that's a separate entity from Emmons Logan Wind?
Yes.
And are you gonna have additional employees for the energy storage, or is it gonna be the same employees as the wind, or how?
So I'm not 100% sure on that. I believe there will be 3 new full-time positions for the battery specifically. They may share the O&M building that's there,
Sure.
but I don't think they'll be sharing personnel for, you know, not one
So
person doing it.
they're separate entities, but it's like a collaboration, you're gonna probably
Yes.
share similar
I believe so,
buildings,
yes, sir.
equipment, things like that, but you're separate.
Exactly.
So the energy is gonna be separate from the actual Emmons Logan Wind.
Yes.
At least on paper, or
Yes.
legally.
Mhm.
I would
Even
say-
though it's the same customer.
Right, it makes sense, I just, because when you see Emmons Logan Storage, it's like, well, obviously it's not
Exactly.
Emmons Logan Wind, so it must be a separate entity. So
Yeah.
it's just like with employees, cause everybody just probably assumes you guys are the wind company, you're gonna have the same employees, which
Why
is
does that?
partially true, but yet kinda
Nah,
different.
yeah, right.
But we got it.
I believe it'll be, I believe it'll
Well,
be
they're
3
not gonna
full-time
take it from us.
positions.
Sure.
They may get their gravel, like I was just telling Craig, they might have to buy their gravel crushed to a certain size from Minnesota, have it hauled in on the rail. You know, the railroad that runs through, we've done that, when I worked for the railroad, we've hauled to Bismarck from Fredonia for Knife River. You know, then you can crush it to your specs, and then you just have to haul it from Napoleon over, I mean, it's 20 miles, whatever. I mean, I don't think they're gonna hurt our gravel supply by coming in and
Okay, just a point.
yeah, I'm just saying how, you know, I mean, they might have to dig, you know, a hell of a lot deeper to get gravel than we would want to anyway.
It's really not gonna be much different than what it looks like out at the DAPL site. It's just
Right.
probably gonna be a different scale, but it's
So
pretty much a
basically
rock
same
gravel
deal.
base with a bunch of climate controlled storage containers essentially. I mean, that's,
Yeah.
except I think DAPL maybe had 10 or 20 out there, these guys will have 100-ish, you know, and so it's, I mean, I don't think any of you guys, I might have been the only one on at that time when we did that tour, but it's pretty, I mean, they have them spaced specifically for specific reasons, it's enclosed fence, it's gravel and rock for weed control, it's easy to spray and maintain, I mean,
It's business in our community, it's, you know what I mean? They're gonna-
well, I'm just being like,
Provide
it's gonna
gravel.
be, it's gonna be engineered a similar way, they're gonna get their aggregate somewhere close, cause it's nothing too special, I think it's whatever
Just
spec they
gravel.
need just to make it work, but I don't think it's anything too special.
Okay,
This is something we have to keep in mind is road maintenance, hauling all this in.
Yes, sir.
We're gonna
Yeah.
have probably a blade once a week going to Timberview Road, and that takes a whole day. I talked to Russ yesterday about that. And I asked, what does it cost for a full day? He says, well, we're charging Campbell Township $350 an hour. And Al Holm, he runs that area, he said it would take him a full day to do 3 passes to keep that road up. So we're gonna have issues there, we're gonna lose a blade operator for one day that would normally be in another area.
Well, I think
Keep that up.
when we did the wind project, you know, Blattner Energy did that one, and they actually supplied the blade when they were doing all their hauling and building, so.
Did they?
So you
But now,
supplied
whether
it.
that was a request from us, or if that was provided by them, but that's something we can try and negotiate in the road agreement, you know, the road maintenance agreement, is the amount of times it gets bladed, and who's paying for it, or who's supplying it, you know, so that's something to just
I
consider.
don't think it's
in
been
that process.
contracted out fully yet, but.
I'd say that's
I,
something we should look
if
at.
I remember right, I feel like that was basically a part of Blattner, like, I don't even think we
Road
asked
use
for that,
agreement.
that was just kind of, they were like, basically, we'll take care of the road when it happened there, so.
Yeah.
But that's just something that, cause that road maintenance, agreement, that negotiation will probably come a lot closer to the beginning of the project if it happens, you know, that'll be.
Yeah, I actually have it in front, we haven't filled it out yet, but that'll be part of the road use agreement, you know, maintenance of that, any damage afterwards, things like that. You know, video, I believe part of it is, videoing the roads beforehand and things like that as well, so. And, you know, I mean, obviously, we wanna be good stewards, so we're gonna be more than willing to make sure those are kept up as we're gonna be using them also, so.
Well, I
I
guess,
have a question.
Go ahead.
yep,
Being this is the first project, veteran storage project in North Dakota, have you guys met with the tax commissioner's office? How is this assessed? Is it centrally assessed, or how is this taxed?
So, you know, I think that's still maybe, and Casey, I don't know if you have any further context on the taxing portion yet.
I don't, we would have to follow up with some additional
Yeah,
information.
cause that's kind of
Okay.
unknown for us too. You know, I could speculate and say it'd probably be centrally assessed. We're just not sure what they're gonna end up doing with it.
Well, after this is built, this should be changed to industrial area.
right, but I mean, as far as the taxation goes, typically with the pipelines, the wind farm, all that's usually centrally assessed through the state, so I'd be
I
very
believe-
shocked
I
that.
believe it gets taxed by use anyways.
Yeah.
Not the zoning of the property, I believe, I could be speaking, but I think it goes by use.
Right, but I know like even with us, we have very little to do with like the property tax collection on the wind farm.
The state.
The specific, like, there's like 1 acre sites for each one, that gets property, but that's minimal, the main tax use is essentially assessed through the state, through their formulas, because of the laws they've passed, and the tax
Except for the
credits and
towers, the towers are,
Right, the actual
Right,
site
where
gets the
they-
property
yeah.
tax, but like the actual production and all that, that's all, and I would assume it's probably
Like
gonna be something, I mean, there's gonna be evaluation of this specific site, and that will probably have something to do with, but like any of the actual value of the project as far as production or any of that stuff's all gonna go through the state, so. Or at least most likely what I would assume, just because it's very similar to this other stuff, but. I would say just for the sake of time and everything too, kind of the main process of having this on the agenda is we need to set a time and a date for a public hearing,
Okay,
cause that's the next step. before-
next step to do this.
Yeah.
Good.
I mean, I don't mind grilling these guys, but.
I don't mind it. We're
The
here
more,
for it.
it seems like the more you grill, the more donuts. the person gets.
Yeah, right.
Hamburgers.
Yeah, but we gotta save a little for the public hearing too, we got no questions to ask.
Mary's on standby for the public hearing.
I'll commend you for your openness and for talking to us,
Appreciate it.
that is very appreciated by
Appreciate
us.
it, thank you very much.
So, I mean, the fact that we've asked you some tough questions even before the public hearing, you should be good and prepared for the public hearing, but, I mean, that's the main reason for having it on the agenda, is we as a board gotta decide when we're gonna have our public hearing, which is required, both for our rules and for the state process, so generally, something, you know, a project this size, we'll probably have some public input, try and have it on a weeknight, you know, evening-ish, 5:30, 6 o'clock, something like
Midweek.
that.
So people are here during the week, instead of on a weekend.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I think
Right, I would say middle of the week, evening,
Wednesday
you
evening
know,
or
like something like that traditionally has been the best.
How far out do we have to?
How long?
You gotta
how
have
far
a
we have
chance
to
to
get
publish
those,
it.
I
Yeah.
have to publish it for 2 weeks.
Right,
we
so
got-
you're gonna, it's gonna be at least, 2-ish to 3 weeks, so you're looking at
Probably.
middle of July at the earliest, you know.
Middle of July, probably on the 16th.
No.
That's too short, you'd have to have like the 22nd or
With
23rd.
Friday being a holiday, I'm gonna have to get the paper tomorrow.
Yeah,
Probably
right.
the 30th then,
Oh,
I was thinking, you guys wanna have it the same day you have your commissioners meeting, just break and go back?
I would say
Well, the
that'd be a
only,
good
cause
idea.
that,
Oh.
the next one would be August though, right?
Yeah.
Have it at night?
would be August
So then,
4th, August
Oh,
5th,
you wouldn't ruin another day.
August 5th.
is, when is our budget public hearing, and would that be?
We don't have estimate taxes anymore to send out.
Yeah,
I have that 3% calculation sheet to do,
okay,
and I can put new growth with centrally assessed, and I won't have those till the first week in August. So we're not gonna have our preliminary budget until September.
okay, so I was just thinking it was August or September, cause
You'll probably be back.
2 hearings in 1 evening is gonna be.
Well, we wouldn't have the hearing anyway until October's meeting.
Okay, that's what I was just confused on exactly when we do that, so yeah, I mean, The only other thing, yeah, is like you said, maybe do it that August 5th at like 6 PM.
That's
You wanna do it a little later than that, so people go have dinner?
Well, I mean, the only trouble, I mean, I don't anticipate it being a super late meeting, but if you start any later, then it gets to be, I mean, you can do 6:30 or 7, I mean, whatever, I just,
Just people have to travel, have dinner.
Yeah, I get it, yeah, totally.
yeah, you just gotta make sure that you wrap that meeting up at about 2 or 1, so we can go home.
For people to show, you have to wait. 6:30, make it 6:30.
Probably.
Yeah.
You wanna have it in the auditorium then?
In our new auditorium,
You don't have it in here?
or
I
in
mean,
here.
this room will hold, what, 60 people or something like that?
Greg, is it,
So you can get 40, 45 to 50 here
So have it in here.
decently, nobody kind of start
Yeah,
getting
I
a
guess
little above
we get
55.
too
so
big.
it's
I think it's too cold.
We just moved.
Yeah.
Well, the only trouble is you either gotta prepare the auditorium or not, like, you
Yeah.
can't, like, there's no, like, moving down to there, cause it's difficult
gotta
to
have
record,
everything
and
set
so
What do
you
you-
either have to decide
think
to
there'll be
have
that
it
many
or not to
people?
have it.
I don't think there'll be that many people, I don't know. Well, you've been in before in these here.
I mean, like I said, this just doesn't seem like it's quite the scale and the, you know, I don't think you're gonna have 100 people coming in this room, I don't think.
I don't.
So,
Be a lot
of course, now that I said that,
Be a lot of donuts.
what?
Greg, is the auditorium open that day, do you know,
For which day?
August 5th?
Let me go take a look, I'll get back to you here real quick.
Yeah, I didn't.
Well, I'd say for the most part, it'd probably be safe to make that decision, and we can just decide between this room or the auditorium, I think
Yeah.
picking the date and time is fine.
So August 5th,
August 5th.
I would make the motion
go ahead.
to conduct the public hearing for the application for conditional use permit for Emmons Logan Energy Storage LLC on August 5th
At
at
6:30.
6:30 PM
Yep.
at the Emmons County Courthouse.
And I'll second that.
And Gardner seconds, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Well, we'll get them in the door, and whether they gotta go up or down, we'll decide.
Yep.
Craig,
Well, I appreciate it, and you
Thanks
guys
guys
have
for
been
coming in.
really awesome, feeling welcome here, so.
Thanks for the donuts and coffee and all.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Grab a donut on the way out, maybe two.
Yeah, grab donuts on the way out.
We actually have another box at the door.
Go figure.
I know you want another one, grab.
He said they got some in the car.
Have my stash.
No, they're not holding out.
Alicia Stuckel and Nancy Dice, extension.
You have to eat a donut before you give it first.
You want donuts?
They dropped some nuts downstairs. Our office too.
Okay, the circuit.
Alright. You wanna start?
Thanks for coming in, you guys.
Okay, start the page, yeah, okay. Alright, well, here's our quarterly narrative, so you guys kinda know the drill, we do this each quarter, sorry. So we'll just, this is just a few highlights of things that we've been doing,
That should be able to make that work.
That'll work?
the last quarter in our office, so definitely gearing up, it's 4-H, season, busy season right now. So the front just kinda, focuses on some of the things that we've been, doing with youth, so. I know you guys can read, so if you want us to go over each thing, we can, but I know you guys are busy, so.
Bold assumption.
Well, I know that, well, maybe you guys have time, right? You have all these donuts, you're not gonna take a lunch, but, do you wanna go in a little bit on some of your items?
Yeah, I did some poultry testing in Bismarck to be certified to become a, so that I can test for polarium and typhoid, which is a disease caused by the bacteria Salmonella. And I need to do that for all our poultry exhibits at the fair here. That's a requirement for the state. I also was at 4-H livestock camp, helping with that. Farm safety training, I took a skid steer training to become certified to help teach skid steer operation for Farm Safety Day camp. Every week I go out and scout crops around the county, because we have, our NDSU has a statewide crop and pest report that gets released every Thursday. And I provide information from our county on diseases, insects, pests, whatever I'm seeing out in the fields, I take pictures and submit them for this report here. And then also on your guys' agenda is the water hemlock, which the weed board declared noxious weed now in Emmons County, so guys are supposed to be controlling it, and the weed board also put it on their noxious weed list for the voucher, for the chemical voucher. It can be reimbursed up to $300 for chemical that guys use to help control it on the list of chemicals that are provided, so.
Is there a major problem? Cause I looked at some.
So west of Strasburg is where I went out to right away, and I brought a specialist from NDSU down to help me identify it, to make sure that's what it was. So it is pretty bad out there.
Yeah, it is water hemlock.
It is water hemlock, yep, and then I found some north of Linton here too, that I feel like it's even worse, because this guy's been trying to control it,
Yeah, I know.
and they didn't even know it was here, north of Linton, so it's just been growing and growing and,
And all along this creek watershed area.
yep, yep.
Where wetters are.
Wet areas, where there's, if you see a lot of cattail,
Hills.
there's probably
Water.
some down there. We're assuming that it's probably out by the river already,
I'm sure.
Oh, I'm sure through that whole watershed.
yeah, so,
And it was bad because this guy was fighting aggressively.
Yeah, I
It was
know.
being ignored,
yep,
that it wasn't hemlock.
yep, so,
Okay, thanks for going out
For
there.
following up on that, you did a
Yep.
good job, thank you.
yep, thank you.
So hopefully we can get it controlled, or
Yeah,
possibly help.
I guess the
Slow
guys,
it down
the
a bit.
guys west of Strasburg plan to get a drone, or they're working on getting a drone. All of them kinda that, and they're gonna chip in on it and try and get it controlled that way,
Does the weed board have a drone to scout?
Is it as
not that I'm
aggressive,
aware of.
Okay.
is it as aggressive as leafy spurge?
I don't know about that, but, I mean, there's little tiny cotyledon plants that we seen starting to shoot up when we were out there a month ago.
And it's
So-
toxic to livestock, correct?
So
They
if
consume it.
it's broke open, the stem is broke open, and you get, even humans get sap on their skin, in your eyes, in your mouth, and then if the livestock eat it too, they'll die. The guy north of Linton, I asked him where I found it, I said, have you ever lost livestock in this pasture? And he said, yeah, and he didn't ever know why, so, yeah. The reason why, I guess the weed board declared it a noxious weed, and the producer wanted it a noxious weed, is the safety for human beings and livestock. Cause there are a lot of livestock in these pastures that are exposed to it, so.
Once it's hayed and dried, is it still toxic?
It can be toxic,
It
yeah.
still is,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
Cause a lot of this was hayed
Yeah.
over the years and fed,
Yeah, right.
and that seed is just spread all over the fields.
Yeah.
So probably once in a while there was a dead cow or calf.
Oh, yeah, you never thought.
He never knew what it was.
And those seeds probably stay viable like Canadian thistle and
Oh, yeah,
Like
yeah,
all-
for years.
yep.
Okay,
I'm hoping that a lot of guys will use something that has a residual. We did add another chemical to the noxious weed list. It's a 2,4-D formulation that's water safe. It's safe to spray by the waterways. But, like Milestone will control it, and that'll give you some residual, so. I'm planning on hopefully writing a newspaper article on it so that I can give some information to the general public about
That'd be
it.
good. Get the
Okay.
word out.
yep, thanks.
Yep,
Anything else, guys?
No.
No, I just gotta go walk through my pasture now. Well,
Cause you're
freaked
on that
out,
watershed.
now I gotta wait, no, there's cattails, I only have about 12 acres of it, so.
Yeah,
It's a mess.
yeah.
Well, we're glad to have Nancy in the county helping tackle that.
Yeah.
I'll just go through a few highlights on the next page. Public Health and I, at Lisa Mock, we wrapped up our Stepping On program, and we will be planning another one this fall. We had a wait list, and we have a lot of people interested in doing that. So it's a fall prevention program. It's 7 weeks long, so it's pretty intensive, but it's research proven to prevent the risk of falls, which keeps people in their home longer, which has economic benefit, obviously, to our county, right? April did some financial literacy stuff. 4-H Clover Camp, I'm a co-chair of that camp, so spent some time up there. Been doing several things with the Tri-County Tourism Alliance. I saw Dan at the Welk Homestead for one of the events, so that's been kind of fun. Lots of action kind of happening down in Strasburg with the Welk Homestead, and some activities, and the documentary premiere for the Lawrence Welk North Dakota Farm Boy will premiere on Prairie Public Television on Monday, it's July 14th, at 7 p.m. So if you haven't seen it, definitely check it out. You know, his impacts to the world of television are very, very significant. I feel like I learned a lot in this process too. So something for Emmons County to be proud of. Over on the back, just some meetings, trainings, and all the fun things we have going on. Then our upcoming events calendar. So next week, I'd like to pay special note to our Achievement Day. So if you're in town, stop by and check out our exhibits. They will be on display all day on Wednesday, but Tuesday night we will be open to the public 2 from 5 to 7. So if you want to check out our static exhibits. And then the livestock show is on Wednesday. And one of our 4-H clubs will be serving concessions both days, so you can always grab a bite to eat and support them. But I guess any other particular questions you have?
I was out there 2 years ago for the 4-H deal with a kid with animal judging. That was interesting. And how many people are actually out there.
Oh, yeah.
That was good to see.
Yeah.
We've quite a few signed up this year, so.
Oh, good. Well, and the auditorium will be air conditioned.
Yeah.
Oh, we are so excited.
The auditorium will be air, it always gets so warm in there.
Yes, we
Well,
will.
that'll be a real nice deal.
We set up with Craig, today's Tuesday, yesterday, and it's crazy just without those bleachers, how much extra space we have too, so that's been kinda neat to just see for setup. It looks good down there, but yeah, I know you guys have a lot going on, so.
Well, thank you, Bill.
Thanks. Are you over there on the test plot when they plant, Nancy? Do you go over there when they plant the test plot?
I was gone when they planted over there,
So I'm sure it's a mess.
I honestly haven't been over there,
See
yet.
it from the road.
I haven't been by it, but it's just
So-
because you weren't there, I'm sure it's gonna be a mess.
Oh, no, no.
I wouldn't say that, I think they got some good people taking care of it, so, yeah, it's been busy in our office, so.
Okay.
But, yeah, the Tri-County Fair, the plot is that on here?
Yep,
That's
the
on
pledge
there.
tour is
And it's
The
Tri-County,
July
29th of
29th.
July.
start
yeah.
right, sorry.
29.
You wanna come check it out and have supper with us? That'd be great.
Did you end up with damage with this tornado deal?
We didn't at our farm, we dodged a bullet by about 2 miles, so, thankfully. But there was quite a bit of hail damage that night,
Okay.
northeast of Linton. So
Northeast of it.
around the Tenvick area, that way, east, there was quite a bit of hail damage, so.
Yeah,
I know north of Sturgis, they got totally gone.
yeah, scary storm, scary couple nights, you know.
Mm-hmm,
A long summer ahead of us.
yep.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. Anything else?
Donut.
Grab a donut.
We got a whole box in our office.
We're still up here, we're doing the budget presentation
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I think we're first on the
Yeah.
Departmental 2026 budget.
Do we wanna,
What do you do?
are we gonna do the Snocker sweep?
She just did.
I think
She
we
just
kinda
told.
did that, this
Okay,
is-
all right.
Yeah, all right, good.
Your first occasion, I believe.
Okay, that's what I thought, but I didn't.
Sometimes-
Go ahead.
You need to
It just goes by, I just had to catch it when you catch me, I appreciate it.
Hello again. So, I guess I have it printed out, just in front of us. I'll let you guys get it out. No major changes to our budget, obviously, most of our changes are salary, related. I left the administrative position salary off for now, just, because I wasn't sure what's going to be decided, as far as a percentage. Sorry, I feel like I have this microphone, so I'm so loud.
No, you're not.
So I don't know what's being decided, as the step or whatever for raises for administrative assistant, so I haven't filled that out yet until you guys decide what we're doing for percentage for like Vicky's salary increase. NDSU obviously determines what Nancy and my salary are, so those numbers are on there, that
Okay.
increase. But, so besides salary changes, the only thing that we increased was, professional development, $250. And that's because, Vicky is, they're adding some additional trainings for her to attend, so that pays for her to attend those trainings. As you know, mileage adds up quite quickly, hotel rooms, etc. And then the other increase is to technology and software, and that's because things are just going, you used to be able to buy when you bought software, when you downloaded it, it was good. Now everything's going to a yearly subscription fee and becoming incredibly costly, and it's quite frustrating, but there's nothing we can do about it. But in order to be able to do the things we do, we need those software programs, so that's an increase of $500. So other than salaries, the only additional increases are $750 to the general hardware budget.
With postage going up, you think you're good on postage then?
We didn't increase that just because we honestly really try not to mail a lot of things. Most of our postage is sending samples and things like that.
Which we have the producers usually pay for the
Right,
postage.
but sometimes we have to send stuff
Yeah.
if you're sending things in, so, I mean, we try not to mail things out like we used to.
Because it just keeps.
Well, yeah, I mean, you just honestly are.
And you don't
what-
get it.
what-
Everybody has,
You don't
everybody
get it.
has an email nowadays, right? So.
right.
Well, in one mass
Utilize
mailing, with the cost of postage could practically take all of our budget, so
Yeah.
we try to be very conservative with our postage, or what we mail.
Good.
So, I guess, did I explain that okay? Did you have any questions for our budget? So basically, minimal increase other than our salaries.
Your salary.
Very good.
Okay,
Thank you.
Any questions?
thank you, gals, appreciate
Okay.
it.
What's here? It's too full.
It wasn't full. I don't get
Oh,
government
yes.
payments no more. Vanderhorst, you gotta get a double mailbox.
Yeah, I do. Yeah, put it back. That direct deposit will cut down on this.
He doesn't even get the mail from one now.
Those direct deposits really cut down on the size of the corner mailboxes, didn't it?
I can get a smaller box.
What's up? Go ahead. Who's next one?
Brad's next.
Brad? The VA officer, Bradley?
Oh, yeah, VA.
Alrighty, gentlemen, mine's pretty simple. Everything is either staying the same or going down.
Love it.
So, I don't really need any big ticket items. Technology, I kinda kept somewhat the same. I may look into, see if I can get a laptop. Other than that, I've been offered a couple options. That's just too much money. I don't have enough business to, this, individuals that call me, we're looking at getting like a laptop, phone hookup, cell phone, kind of an all-inclusive package. Like a couple grand a month would be the tab on that. It'd be nice, but if those numbers that I showed you earlier were about 4 times that, then wouldn't hesitate, but mine's pretty basic again. Everything's going down. At some point, my post office box is gonna go away, I just don't have enough mail generated to pay the justified post office box, but I kept that the same. Next year, that'll probably go down. Other than that, questions?
Anybody? I don't know.
You don't think a laptop would be good for you, I mean, when you're traveling or driving? You and I just, we've talked about this and I'm just curious, I mean,
I
if you
kinda
don't
kept my
think.
budget for it, now this company that called me to set up, this was kind of like an all-inclusive package with a laptop and syncing it up with a cell phone, and it was all the expense and all that. And it sounded nice, I could see where it would be really beneficial, but we just don't have enough. I mean, if we have over 600 veterans in this county, and again, I was seeing 4 times the amount of veterans, I could see looking into that, but this is something that would benefit a Bismarck and Burley County or
And even
Cass
just a
County.
laptop that you can
But
put
I
on
did
docking
budget
station
in for
and use
that,
it, take
so
it
yeah,
with
I did budget for that, I still
Okay.
kinda kept my technology high enough to where I may look into that.
I just know how you work, Brad, and you're always willing to go the extra mile for a veteran, and that might mean you're sitting at home on a Thursday or Friday, and something needs to be looked up, and I just think a laptop would be nice for you, because you could take it home.
I did budget for that though, so.
Okay. I just think if that's something that would make your job better and more efficient, I think it would be good to go that direction. I don't know if you need to sync all everything with your phone and all that, that might get chaotic.
Yeah, but, that's essentially it for me. Everything else I'm fine with.
Okay,
Thanks.
Yep.
thanks, Mike. Appreciate it. State's attorney.
I don't suspect this one's gonna go down. The other two.
I can tell him.
Either. So we just left, I guess I left the budget the same as it was last year. We left, salaries open in case there's a cost of living increase that you guys will entertain. Obviously, insurance is gonna go up, but, I didn't look to raise any of the other line items. They kind of fluctuate year to year. We've lowered some of them in the past, so I think we're lower now than we were when I started, but as far as those other line items are concerned. Is there any questions?
What is health insurance up, what, $2,000?
Yeah, I'm not sure the exact figure.
No, you're not sure yet on
It went
that.
up 15.7%,
How much?
15.3 or something.
Oh.
Yeah, but doesn't PERS based on a biennium too though?
But it's
Or-
every 2 years.
Right, so technically, when you see a 15% increase,
It's
it's 6 to 7%.
7%.
Yeah,
I
right,
thought
that's-
pretty good they couldn't go up over
So
5%
there's-
a year. Yeah, okay. I was misinformed.
Clerk of court, okay.
Maintenance and stuff, 2 pages from the state's attorney. State's attorney, and then there's,
I tried to put them in order as they were for you guys.
There it is, got it. Go ahead.
How's everybody doing today?
good.
So mine's gonna be pretty short and sweet. Really, the only adjustment I don't have, kinda doing the same thing like everybody else is for leaving the salaries blank for cost of living adjustments and what have you. But the big difference on that one for me is my part-time help. I'm going down $1,000 to 3,000 on that one, but I still left that line blank. And the only other thing where I'm reducing on my costs is gonna be my technology for my telephone. So pretty much the only thing that's really dropping is my part-time salary, paying for that one, and then I'm bringing my phone from 850 down to 800.
Okay.
So you wanna put the part-time down to 3,000?
Yes.
The what?
The part-time salary, is down to 3,000.
be it. Any questions?
Nope.
I don't have anybody else?
Nope.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Craig.
Thanks, Craig.
Thank you, guys. Clerk of court, recorder. Good morning.
Oh, hi, Robin.
Hi. I guess I don't have too much, I left my budgets blank as well,
Pull the mic up to you, Rob.
okay.
Thanks.
Yep.
Us old farmers are hard to hear.
I didn't move much of mine at all, I think the only thing I did was when I was at my recorders meeting, they said, they usually mark that, like for Document Pro, they mark that up about 3% every year.
3% increase.
Yeah, so I put that one up a little bit, and then I upped my technology a little bit. I plan on updating a few of our computers, they haven't been updated for about 5 or 6 years now, and I got a quote to update those, so I just upped that one a little bit, but otherwise everything else pretty much stayed the same. I upped my dues, 100, cause my Recorders Association fee is $500 itself, and the Clerks Association fee is $100, so I just bumped that up to 600. But everything else should be about the same.
Any questions, anybody? No?
No.
Oh, good.
Good job.
Thank you, Robert.
Thanks, Robin.
Good morning. How are you this morning?
Good, how are you?
Good, good.
Okay, you ready for
Grab
this?
donuts on the way out, gals, if you need some.
Oh, yeah, just
Take
what I
two.
need.
Take a whole container of them. There's bags of donuts too.
For Sanders will take the whole box, you know. He took it here.
Yeah.
Okay, so I guess we'll just start at the top, huh? My salary, I got a number off of the North Dakota Association of Counties website, I averaged the current salaries of tax directors within 6 million taxable value of Emmons County. And I just took the average, and the average of that was $64,458. And then I multiplied that by 104% of 4% increase to get that number. So that's where I got that 2026 number. In case you were curious about that. And of course, I only hit that once I'm fully certified. So right now I'm at I'm 1/3 of the way to certification.
1/3.
Mm-hmm. And then Karina's salary, what I did there was I equated her, since she is labeled admin assistant, to the other admin assistant in the building, and which would adjust her wage to $25.97 an hour for 2025, which is not what she is at right now. And then I multiplied that by 23 hours a week for 52 weeks a year, plus a 4% cost of living increase to get her to that number. So, good so far?
Any questions, anybody?
Following where I'm going with this? A lot of numbers rolling out there.
Yeah.
And then with the introduction of the House Bill 1176, our office is going to see substantial increase in workload. We discussed that at the last meeting that I was at. So I'm guessing we're gonna need some help somewhere along the lines with all the extra notices that we have to put out.
That's insane.
So I'm guessing maybe $5,000 might cover that. We're gonna try to utilize people in the building that need, or Marlis has a new person coming in the treasurer's department working part-time. Maybe
few extra hours for her, you know, just trying to guess what this is gonna come out at. So that's where that $5,000 is for the new house bill. And, then we'll jump down to office supplies. I left those the same as this year. Travel, I left that the same as this year. Dues, the same. Well, it wasn't marked in here, but over the years, it's $50 for the North Dakota Association of Counties dues, $50. And then we get into books and printing and postage, and that's jumped once again because of the House bill information that we have to deal with there. I don't know what this is gonna entail, so this is my best guess right here with the extra postage and getting pre-printed envelopes printed up and all that stuff that we have to do.
Sure be nice if we could do that online.
Yeah, they
But
will
you
not,
legally
they will not.
Can't legally do it
The
online.
only notice that we can do online, well, it's not even online, it would be via email, would be our notices for the property tax, or the state property tax credit. But the state said they cannot give us the emails that they collected in that. So we have no way to,
No.
we have no way to get it to them
They want us on our
digitally.
tax capability, but increase our expenses for us.
Exactly.
So,
That's exactly what we did.
so it's quite a hefty
It
increase
is
there.
what it is, so we gotta deal with it.
Yeah.
Your town so much.
Yeah, you can run it.
No.
At the end, it's like
Yeah.
squeezing.
Just do it and move on, right?
Yeah. So any questions on those? Those are some pretty big hikes right there.
We'll put a question mark by your postage and your printing, knowing that that's a best guess scenario.
I did get estimates from 2 places on the pre-printed envelopes, and I think that price is only gonna go up a little bit.
Okay.
And the postage right now is 78 cents per envelope, so.
You were talking at one point, I think last month or the month before, about postcards.
It's still in the process
Okay.
of being developed, if they are going to develop it at all. Right now, they're,
Cause that would cut the postage down substantially,
that
right?
would cut it down, yeah.
Half or less, maybe?
Well, no, not half, I think it's only, I can't remember exactly how much a postcard stamp is, but it's,
And you wouldn't need the envelopes though.
yeah, you
Yeah,
wouldn't
and you
need
wouldn't
the
need the
envelope,
envelope, so I
yeah,
guess, yeah,
but
okay.
it's not half, no, the
All right.
postcard's not half.
Just keep all that information to be out there for everybody to see. Because
Well, really, the only
They could go into the
postage
courthouse.
deliverer person would be the only one that should see it.
A big help
You know,
would be if it wasn't per parcel, you know, where per person instead of per, you know, cause like I'll get probably half a dozen of them.
Well, we're trying to, in the development, we're talking about, getting multiple parcels per printout if,
There you go.
if they're gonna keep it in a letter.
Yeah,
And it seems like I'm the only one that's interested in the postcard development, so I don't know if that's gonna go anywhere.
yeah,
But,
well, yeah, do what you can.
yeah, so it's all under advisement. We've got a few months to figure it out.
Okay.
Continuing education, the number in there, that includes the rest of my, assessment training and traveling. I have 2 more week-long courses in testing and 5 paid online courses that I have to do. So, and then down to the Vanguard software, that is the assessment software, and I think it's been in the general budget for the last, I don't know, however many years, but I think it's more important to put it in this budget so that you can see the costs for this office, and then we can kinda help that, maybe when we're trying to adjust how much we're gonna charge cities per parcel and that kind of thing. This number, I think, should be included in here, so it's kinda shifting, from another budget into this budget. I hope that's okay. So with that said, the top number, the 11,000, that is the final payment our 3-year contract. And then the $68.50, that would be an additional license and 6 hours of additional training for this new House bill stuff. Karina's gonna have to have her own version of the software, cause we're both gonna be in it all the time. Right now, she shares my version, or my license, I guess. So when I'm in it, she can't be in it, and when she's in it, I can't be in it. This way, we can both have it. And then we've got the 6 hours additional training to help with whatever they're gonna make adjustments for as far as the development of moving forward with this.
Does Karina have any certification in anything too, or
No,
she doesn't require it? Okay,
no, she's not required to.
okay.
Okay, and then I put miscellaneous of 1,000, cause like I said, I don't really know what all is gonna entail this bill. But we might have more paper, I'm sure we're gonna have more paper costs, additional mailings, a lot more assessments. I have a feeling I'm gonna have a lot more people calling my office requesting, reassessments, that kind of thing. And then the telephone is the same figures as 2025, and the technology is for 2 workstations for the software. So any other questions on what my numbers are here?
Anybody? Nope.
And one more thing I'd like to nail down is, when I was hired, I am to get a bump in pay with each time I pass a test towards my certification. I was wondering if we could kind of nail down a number, cause I've gotten a third of the way through the certification and I haven't seen a pay increase, so.
So I wanna tell you, the approved budget here where it says, that salary there, you look at approved 2025 budget.
Yep.
We didn't have a tax director last year, so I did the budget.
Oh,
She's getting paid $10,000 less than that. I just added another 10,000 in there in case she did get certification, so you guys want to bump her up. So I just wanna let you know that it is included in the budget this year
Okay.
to bump her up.
So what is the typical bump, I mean, what, was there, I mean, I know like the city, we have a set price when people get certified for water.
There was
sewer.
no set price, different tax director, they would kinda tell the commissioners what they wanted, I guess is what. There was no set price, like $500 or whatever, or 1,000 or whatever, there was no set price on that.
So this should be 10 grand less, actually, what's,
So what she gets paid now is 10 grand less than on there, it's just that when I did this budget last year, I put another 10 grand in there in case that person
For the
gets,
certificate.
to get paid extra for.
Well, you should be paid extra for certification as far as I'm concerned, but what's a good
She should
number?
get,
Well, I'm a
Something.
third of the way, so I thought a third of the way,
3,300.
yeah.
What's that?
If she's a third of the way, a third of 10,000 is 3,300.
3,000.
I would caution you not to make any rash decisions, cause that's part of the reason why we went to the grade and step scenario. Was
Oh,
for
there you
things
go.
like this, so I think any decisions getting made should try and get
Based on
somewhat based to that, so we don't deviate from that and have one department that's a third of the way to a step or to a.
Well, that was what I was discussed in my interview.
Sure.
Yeah, that's,
So that's where I think that decision needs to be correlating with the grade and step program, either you just, maybe a third of the way isn't a good time to do a raise, like maybe you go halfway so you can do a step, or a, you know what I'm saying, like instead of trying to mishmash it and meet in the middle and do 30% of something, and then now, let's say she leaves and she doesn't get her qualifications, well, the next person comes in and wants to get paid what the previous one was, well, she was a third qualified, this person's not or is, and now that's why you have to try and stick to your grades and steps.
Yeah.
You should be hiring based on that, and then the scale should be in correlating with that, either at 6 months you get a step due to whatever reason, or a qualification or whatever, so that, not saying that anything specific can or can't happen now, that process needs to follow the grade and step.
I know we didn't adopt it yet, you know, that grade and step thing, but we can look at that, Christine,
Yeah, you have to make sure that,
kind of see
Right.
where that's at.
Well, and that's where, like I said, if you want, if the board decides to give her a raise in correlation with a third of it being done, I don't necessarily have a problem with that. I just don't wanna go out and be like, okay, well, let's give you $2,500, and it's like, well, that has nothing to do with the direction we're trying to go.
right,
So that way we don't have the sheriff's department coming in with a deputy that matched that similar type deal, and now we're like, well, Gary does it different than they do. We wanted to try and
be uniform.
create some parity, even if it means having some short-term hiccups or something. The long-term goal needs to be all our departments, all our scenarios getting to the grade and step, and that's where even going forward with, as we hire people and discuss things, that needs to be the discussion of how the raises are handled, because otherwise, we're just winging it. I don't think any of us here are professionals in what's the right and wrong way to give raises and when to do it. That's why we're trying to bring that in, so I would only,
Yeah, that's really stalled out though, I mean, we haven't had a meeting in months on that.
No, we
Yeah.
have to get together department heads yet, we haven't done that yet. I think once we heard that 3% cap was coming, we didn't know what to do. you know?
but I would say even if we have one that isn't even fully approved, we should try and at least, like,
Look at it.
I think it should be adhering somewhat close to that idea,
Right,
rather
yeah.
than just trying to like, you know, like Craig's idea of going, you know, she's a third of the way, that's the first like common sense, like, yeah, that's what you do, right? But that's the reason why we had such a mess before and why we're trying to get back to this, and that's my only reason for doing it, is cause my initial instinct is like Craig's too, you're just like, well, yeah, I'll just, you know, make it work as it goes, and then it ends up being a mess, and then you're not treating departments fair, cause you did it for this one department. Her department's tough too, because she doesn't have a department head, she is a department head, so we're the ones that do the raises, so it just, where you don't have this problem with deputies, cause the sheriff handles that, and you know, they're trying to run their departments, we're just trying to get them all on the same page, so that's
So,
why before we jump too much into an idea, I think that needs to relate to that.
We need to revisit that.
So the recommendation would maybe be, take a look at those steps, Christina, and,
Okay, I would have to have access to them, I don't know.
I can.
and then bring it, obviously, if that's how it's been done before, that the director came in and basically said, this is what I want, and then we can negotiate it down, I think that's what you should probably do, and then maybe we can look at going back from when the certification was completed, possibly. You know what I mean? That way, at least, then you have a number, then you come to us, and then we can talk it through, and it's following this step procedure increase that we're trying to stay by and modify, and I've been in a couple meetings
Are
about
you
it.
saying just bring it to the next meeting, then, is what you're saying, or what do you?
You commissioner meeting instead
I'll
of.
wait till the next meeting.
Right, I mean, I just don't feel like I have enough information right now to be fair to Christina or to the rest of the departments by just making a decision right now. I understand where she's coming from, but I don't wanna make a rash decision so like Christina leaves here happy, and there's 4 other department heads that are ticked off by seeing that, and we're defeating the whole purpose
Well,
of trying to create the parity that we want for the long term.
And that's why I say, yeah, it would be nice, cause your certification is done, but if we're not gonna rush into it, we can always backdate it.
Yeah.
Yes.
When you got your certification, but at least we're being fair to everybody. If you go ahead and get that information from her, take a look at it, and then come up with a number that we can all talk about and discuss.
And you know what we
That's
came,
fair.
what the committee came up with, we haven't had a chance to meet with department heads yet, so it'd be a good idea to meet with her and have her look at what
Right.
we came up with her.
Yeah.
And to be
So when do
clear,
you have a meeting plan with the department
We
heads?
haven't done anything for a while, I guess, that step and grade we're talking about.
Yeah, it's kind of been, yeah, there's been some stuff
We
going on.
gotta meet with the
Few
department
things in the
heads, yeah.
community and-
We have-
Yeah, there's some additional information that has to be plugged into it from since last time. There's been some new employees, some numbers have to be plugged in, and then we need to meet.
Does that
Okay.
sound fair, Christina, though?
Yep, that's fine.
Is that
I mean,
don't have a
that
problem
way you
with
can
getting
take a
more
look at it, you
information.
can come up with a number, bring it back to us, we can negotiate, and then I feel like we can go back to the date of your certification. Because I just know how that's, taking care of your employees with the city, like I said, that they didn't always do that either with certifications, and we started doing that, and it makes a huge difference with guys. You can get a guy to get a CDL and he knows he's gonna get $1 raise an hour because of his CDL, he's on it, man, it's crazy.
Well, and just to clarify, I'm not against a wage increase, and if that was part of the negotiations with hiring it, I absolutely believe we need to stand by that. I just know that in the past, my big fear is we decide we're gonna give you $2,500, and 2,400 or 2,600 puts you on a grade and step that we're already almost ready to approve, and it's like, why didn't we just follow that? Cause now we created this number that doesn't exist inside the grade and step, and now we have to like wait a year, or we have to renegotiate, like that's where the caution is coming in, we're like, even though we haven't agreed to something, we have a little bit of a roadmap. If we're going to do something like that, we need to be reading the map and not just sitting here as a board going, yeah, $3,000 seems fair, yeah, let's do it, and then that's how we always did it before, and then these budgets come in and nobody really knows where they're at compared to the other departments, cause we're just winging it depending on who's certified or new or been here 20 years or whatever, so I just would exercise the caution of trying to stay consistent, even if it means maybe taking a month or two longer than we had to get it right. I feel like that's the right way to do it. And in the long run, it's fair to the departments too, like I would just to make sure that.
Just maintain that rapport.
Yep.
Yeah,
That's
everybody.
totally
so
reasonable.
I would think certification would be grounds to move up a step.
Totally agree. Yep, I agree, and I just wanna make sure that we do it right,
Yeah,
so
we
we're
do
not
it
trying
right,
to reinvent the wheel that we're already trying to reinvent. So,
Yeah,
if that sounds fair to you, Christina,
That's
okay,
perfectly fair.
alright.
Thanks, Christina.
Okay, any questions on any of my numbers or? Okay.
No, and I think you're doing a heck of a job,
yeah.
so, thank you.
I appreciate it.
You might need some help collecting envelopes.
I don't even wanna think about it. You guys are gonna all come in.
Maybe you wanna bump
Yeah,
your
you
number
will.
up to get the ones with the adhesive on them.
That would be good.
Alright.
Alright,
They're more expensive, I think.
paper cuts.
It's not really much more.
It is,
Isn't it?
Yeah.
so that'd be a lot easier. That's the way I'd go.
Instead of a wet sponge.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, thanks.
GIS coordinator.
Yes, sir.
There he is.
Yeah, she's doing a great job. I'm glad you guys are considering a possible bump than maybe just the 4% to 3% cost of living. Now that Ardell is leaving, if we lost her, you know, she was a great resource in that gap between tax directors. So we want to keep her. She's doing a great job, so.
Good.
Okay, so on mine, I left the salary and all that blank, you know, I'm good with the cost of living that you guys have discussed. Everything else on the bottom, I kept the same. I lowered technology, I had to buy a new computer this year, so I shouldn't need that, but in case I need a new printer and all that, I still left that at $2,000, but. So all I did was lower it to 1,000 and leave it at that.
I think it's good.
Everything else is the same.
Okay,
Any questions?
Looks good.
go ahead.
Well, I just wanna say that I think you're doing a great job.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I think you're doing the building inspecting duties of going out and checking these sites so that we do a better job on these setbacks and bringing the stuff up on TV, and Craig too deserves a ton of help, or credit too, cause setting up the room the way he does and you guys working together so these meetings are on the internet and we actually have a comfortable desk to sit at instead of being crammed in that closet downstairs. I mean, I think everything that we're doing now makes us look a lot better, and you and Craig deserve a lot of the credit for that, so.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, feel comfortable doing what we're doing, what
Yeah.
you're doing is great. Yeah, sure, no doubt.
Keep up the good work.
So we're ahead of schedule. Gary, did you wanna do yours, or can you be done by noon though? Or do you guys wanna go through the link?
Yeah, why not? We can get that before I can try to follow away on something else here.
Mr. Sanders, you're there?
Good morning.
Morning.
Hi there. So, where exactly, I got 5 or 6 different budgets, so where did you guys? Sheriff's office?
Yep.
Okay. Okay, under the sheriff's budget, everything pretty much the same. Again, we left the salaries blank. I think that was a consensus countywide. It's something you commissioners will have to consider as far as any COLA increases. We're fully staffed, so I got everybody on board. The only change really would be I did reduce the teletype fund from 1,800 to 1,000. There've been some adjustments, and that's all through the state of North Dakota. That's access, that gives us access to the teletype system, which is nationwide and required for law enforcement to have. So I did reduce that 800. And then the only other increase on this budget would be for the vehicle maintenance. Vehicle replacement's getting crazy. I look at what we paid for some of the vehicles we're taking out of service, 38,000, 40,000, they're 60, 65,000.
Yeah.
We've got one purchased, probably won't get here till this fall, but they have no idea what that cost factors is.
And they
We've
don't
seen
give you
a
a
$5,000 increase every year for the last 4 years,
Yep.
minimum 5,000, which is kinda crazy.
It keeps going.
It is, so,
And you can get them, when you order them, can you get them with a guarantee of delivery?
well, we can get them, but we just don't know when. So the
Yeah,
last
we-
vehicle that's currently in order, I pulled the trigger on that like 3 months ago. And I don't expect to see that till this fall.
Right,
It's getting better than it was.
It's
though.
getting better,
Right.
yeah, it is.
but then we've not, once the vehicle's delivered, then we have to get it outfitted or, set up and everything else, and there's another setback, so the car that's on order, we probably won't put that in service till the end of this year, hopefully. Yeah, exactly, so, but other than that, that's about the only increase on the sheriff's side of it. Any questions on the line items that are listed there, or?
So I noticed there's a vehicle out there with no stickers or nothing on it.
Right.
But that's one that's going,
That's a 2017, I've got that listed currently in Bisman, for sale.
For sale.
Yeah.
and we didn't.
That was one there that I had a brief conversation with Marlis, if the county wanted to keep that one back for their, vehicle
That's what you mentioned.
that old white Ford, that's got like close to 200,000 miles on it, I think.
Over 200.
Over 200,000, it's been a pretty good vehicle, but, it's probably time to consider replacing that vehicle. This one that we've got for sale is a 2017 Tahoe. It's got a brand new transmission in it, at 100,000 new transmission put in, it's got a guarantee that goes with that transmission locally here.
Good rubber.
Yeah, rubber is Veron.
Was this the one you and I talked about though, and you said, was this Vargas, this old one?
Yes,
You
yep.
said it was kind of a turd, wasn't it?
Well, it was little stuff, check engine light kind of stuff, but I mean, I think other than that, it's pretty sound.
Which vehicle's getting replaced this fall if you get that?
It's the one that, Deputy James is driving, that's a 2018.
Better
So
vehicle?
you usually roll them every what, 150?
Well, every 5 years, 6 years, depending on mileage, we try and rotate them out about 120 before you start replacing transmissions, the big items. I mean, transmission is $7,000 nowadays.
Yeah.
And then it's the bushings, and then it's everything else, and then it starts to nickel and dime.
Right.
And these are Class A emergency vehicles, they need to run.
If we wait till this next one, has that been a better vehicle?
The biggest benefit to the one that we currently got for sale is it's got a new transmission with a guarantee on it for 100,000 miles. That's a $5,000-6,000 replacement, so that should be solid,
So what are you asking for that? Can we have
14.
14?
14,000.
What can we get out of that vehicle here we've got that you're using? What's that worth?
What's
65.
Hey, that's a 2013 Ford Explorer with 200,000 plus miles. I mean, it's been a juggernaut of a car, but
Maybe the airport authority would be
Yeah,
interested
something
in it,
like
'cause
that.
they need a
Oh, there you
a
go.
courtesy vehicle, cause the one out there is full of
yeah,
money, so.
that might be a good idea.
Yeah,
I mean, the
that's
only
a good
reason-
reason for me.
Kinda circling back, the only reason is cause I was on the board when we decided to try this county car idea basically, because we had employees that were using their own vehicles for stuff,
Right.
like the tax director was getting their car scratched up by dogs, just things where you're like, as a normal business, you wouldn't expect your employees to use their personal vehicles for stuff.
Yep.
I think it's been successful. I've utilized it a few times with Marlis and stuff, going to our
Meetings.
our social board, regional social board meetings and stuff. It actually, I personally wanted to fill gas the first time we used it because I was actually against it. I'm like, there's no way this is gonna be cheaper. That thing used like maybe $25-30 in gas, and so if you would've paid 2 or 3 individuals that mileage to go to that meeting, if you scale it out, I don't think it costs any more. If anything, it probably saves. Not to mention the value to the employees and recruitability of just being like, hey, we have, so. That's why I always kinda advocate for whether it's going to the road department with keeping the old sheriff's trucks or they're maintained, it's a fleet type vehicle. You're gonna have a hard time probably finding a better vehicle on the market to
Yeah.
replace it. I mean, even if it does have a few things, you buy a 2017 Tahoe off Bisman online, you're gonna have the same problems.
20,000.
One way or the other, tires, bearings, whatever, but
Well,
I feel like keeping it in-house with the records, like Gary
You
said,
know
you have a
what,
warranty.
Worth a
I
lot.
feel like the SUVs, especially like the Tahoe, has some value, it's a little bit bigger.
Maybe we
And then
should
I
keep
think the other one we have can still be kept and maybe just used as more of a local, like, the tax director's still gonna go to Strasburg, but you have the Tahoe when someone needs to go to Ellendale or Fargo or something,
These vehicles, Gary, them are just decals on them, right? Stick on site.
Yeah, it's been already detailed out, the
Oh, is it?
decals have been
What
removed,
there
they
is,
had the interior detailed, it's ready to go, it's a decent.
I just know even like
Maybe we
Logan
should-
and
maybe we
McIntosh
should
and them,
keep it.
when we first discussed it with them, I think Logan's got 3 McIntosh, like, we're like, we don't even have 1, and they're like, oh, once you have 1, you'll have 2 or 3, and I think they're right, because you see the value, and I mean, even like if Josh or somebody needs to go out and do something quick, and it's
You
like,
can jump in that vehicle.
right, and you keep the higher mileage, maybe riskier one for your 20 miles or less trips or something, and then the Tahoe is maybe
Well,
more
it's also,
roadworthy.
it, like I said, it's very cost effective, you're not paying the mileage,
Right.
okay? And when you have employees start using their personal vehicle for work-related purposes, and somebody smokes a deer, fender bender, then there's liabilities and it's insurance things, and most insurance companies really frown on the idea that if you're gonna be using your personal vehicle, then you're gonna have to increase your policy and stuff, so it's one of those.
I just think it should be, it doesn't have to be made today, but I think we should strongly consider looking into that, just.
But if he's got it
upgrading our-
online, if
Well, you
you
already
get bids,
got it
it's
online, you know, so.
It's advertised online, yeah.
It's not on bids though, right? You have a price set.
I have a price, I think
Yeah.
the low book
So he
value
could pull,
on
he
it.
could pull it off if he wanted to.
Yeah,
Maybe we keep this one and then we maybe keep the next one and then a guy can ditch the high mileage one and keep 2. I mean, I don't think that's a
Well,
bad
if you
idea.
have something with 200,000 miles, you're getting rid of it in the next 1 to 5 years. So,
Yeah.
I mean, you already need to start looking at replacing anyway, and in my opinion, the county car has been a success.
I agree.
I would say we need to maintain that, and so if we have a vehicle already on site that we think is at least roadworthy, I think we should consider keeping it.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
If you gotta transfer some budget money to make the numbers work, I think whatever, but I don't see a point letting
Yeah, we
it go
can
down the
budget-
road
we
to
can
go
budget
and
some
buy
money.
one out of Bismarck or Minot or something that's gonna give you the same problem.
Yeah, I think we keep it then. And then, like I said, down the road, we can look at getting rid of the high mileage one.
Right, and like you said, there's opportunities, either sell it, or like you said, the airport could probably use some, we can help them out.
Yeah,
you know,
'cause it's not far to get from the
Right,
airport
whatever
to
we gotta
town.
do,
Right,
but
yeah.
You feel very comfortable in this vehicle?
Yeah, I mean, everything worked as it should when we, took it out of service and so forth, and the big factor is it's got a new transmission with a warranty.
That's
Yeah,
what
that's
We got through NAPA, so any work that has to be performed can get through NAPA, and that's, when a car starts to get over 100,000, you wonder about the transmission.
Oh,
You
yeah.
wonder about other things, and that's a big line item there, so,
but anyway,
Yeah.
for the sake of time, I just wanted to bring that up.
sure.
Okay,
That's good, I think.
thanks, good idea.
Okay. So that's, any other questions on the sheriff's office budget? Okay, and moving on, so what have you got next, Mark? Corner?
Corner, same.
Looks like
Yeah, everything is the same on there. Again, that's one of those budgets, unknown factors. You don't know how much you're gonna use. It's on a case-by-case basis.
Yep.
But yeah, so corner has remained the same as 2025. I don't see any increase for it. There might be 2 or 3 months where you don't use it, and then all of a sudden in 1 month you use it 2 or 3 times. So, it's just one of those things. But that remains status, remains the same.
What about 911? Okay,
I'm sorry, what?
In general.
911,
Okay, 911, we have 2 911 budgets, and just to kind of recap why there are 2
Why
911
is that?
budgets.
go ahead, why is it?
Yeah, you have 911 and 911 general.
Yep,
And so the 911 general is funds that are taken from the general budget placed into the 911 fund to make that solvent, put it in the black.
okay.
Because 911, again, is a service provided that is not a moneymaker. Okay, we take in $2 per telephone line. Roughly in Emmons County, there's 3,100 telephone lines, that's cell phones and landlines. and then, IP addresses that people use their own IP address for phone calls, about 3,100. It costs, we collect $2 per line, 50 cents of that goes to the Siren 2020, radio project, maintenance issues, so, and then we have other expenses that come out of that remaining $1.50. The biggest expense that we have for 911 is the North Dakota State radio fees. Effective today, the rates went up for the biennium for 2025 through 2027, and it was a 20-cent per increase for a telephone line. Okay. So last year I had a financial report that I gave to the commission, and with the current income that we have per telephone line and with our expenses, Emmons County, it cost the county 60 cents in the negative per telephone line to have that service. I mean, and that's now going to be about 80 cents per line with the new increase. So that's one of the biggest expenses we have. Most of our other expenses, as far as local salaries for my position, this has not changed since 2009. It's remained the same. Signage, issues like that for the road department pretty much stayed stagnated. It's all the other increases that we don't have any control on through the state of North Dakota. That state radio or some of the carrier fees and things like that. One of the good things is we did see a reduction for the telco, the 5% telco fee. North Dakota Associates of Counties was able to get that down to, it was a push to the legislators to reduce that 5%. It was one of the highest ones in the state, or excuse me, the nation that the state of North Dakota is paying. So that is now 2.5% versus 5%. So there's and it amounts to about, $150 a month is what that amounts to. But it is a decrease there. So that is one of the biggest expenses. So getting back to the 911 general fund, okay, that basically is kind of our local salaries for that position. That all stays the same. Nothing has changed there. Okay, everything stays the same. As far as the 911 budget, the increase would be to the North Dakota State radio fees. It goes from $1.39 per line to $1.59 effective today. Yep. And so that's about a $7,000 increase for the annual year. At 20 cents is what that's going to equate to. And along with that, then there's some other slight increases with some of the other fees. The siren fees actually go up, a portion of that again, because it's based on a percentage. So what we're looking at is basically about a $10,000 increase over 2025, basically for those increased costs that we don't have any say on. Any other questions? I kept the sign maintenance stuff the same. The road department kind of takes care of that. They order the signs. If we need to replace the 911 sign, it comes out of this budget for that purpose. And that's about it. Any questions on 911 or?
Nope.
Okay.
Anybody?
Nope.
Okay, which one do you have listed next?
Police contract.
Police contract, okay, so we no longer have the Lytton police contract, but we do have funds in that account. Over the last years that we've had that account, I've squirreled that money away, and we use that money for equipment replacement, vehicle replacement, things like that, that get, that we needed. So again, I have to have that budget in order to justify those expenses for 2026. So there is no contract, but there is money in that fund. We also use it as kind of a revolving account for reimbursement. If we're reimbursed something, for something, it kind of goes into that account. Okay. So, so my intentions, I budgeted $31,000 for that. Some of that will be used again for offset vehicle expenditures, equipment and stuff. What I budgeted in the sheriff's office for the car will probably, hopefully, pay for a car. But I have all the other added expenses of any equipment issues, installation costs, things like that. Same thing too, if we end up wrecking a car, I've got some money there to do that. Or we're looking at trying to update our drone. We've got one drone now, but we're looking to update that and have two in our available for us. So possibly taking that money out of there.
This is where I'll put that 14,000 then, I'll transfer.
Yeah, so that's exactly, it would go into that account, and then that money would be then used to offset when another car gets here to help pay for that expense.
It's basically a departmental budget, so it doesn't go back to the general fund if you have issues. So
Right,
or
yeah.
Like money comes in that doesn't go to the general fund, you wanna keep it in your
Yeah.
department, it goes to your police contract.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, and then,
County jail?
county jail, so everything pretty much stayed the same with the exception of travel and training. I did increase that by 500 because again, it's a, you know, hotel room or something like that. I got 2 younger deputies that are kind of going through the training, and we sending one to BCI investigator school here for a week. Joseph has got 2 weeks up in Bismarck for his required law enforcement training academy for 1 week of traffic, 1 week of criminal that he's got to attend, and so forth. So that's the increase there. The other increase would be for principal boarding, effective the end of this year, the 1st of 2026. The daily housing rate at the Burley County Detention Center is going to increase from $100 to possibly $115.
Here, yeah,
And that's
it
pretty
must have
much,
typed something wrong on here, can you go through
This
each?
is something.
Yeah,
Yeah,
there's some
I
numbers
think
flip-flopped on
Some
this.
of the numbers are flip-flopped here for some reason.
Maintenance and renovations got 55,000 and your principal boarding's got 300.
I don't know if I did that or what.
I think this one should.
I think
Try
when I
just
typed
turn
it
it
on here, I
around.
must have done it wrong, so.
Yeah, but the number at the bottom's gotta be close, cause it's only an increase
Yeah.
of about $5,000.
So when you
yeah,
go through each line item, give me the dollar.
okay, so, yeah, okay, for salary special deputies, $1,000.
Just stopped in Chicago.
Travel and training, 1,500.
See, I think we missed the top line, is what I did.
Yeah, everything's just.
Oh,
Yeah,
Oh,
transcribe.
Okay, it's not in mine, but,
Office
okay.
supplies.
Oh,
Yep,
yeah,
that
yeah,
makes sense.
everything's down a line.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'll straighten it out.
Office supplies, 1,500, and a lot of times what we do is we try to, because this is a levy, these funds come from a separate levy, and they don't come from the general fund. We try to use up this account first prior to getting into the sheriff's office budget, because money left over in the sheriff's office budget, then is rolled over to the next calendar year into the general fund. So again, we still have to be good stewards of the taxpayers' money, and I wanna try and roll over. Each year I roll over close to about 100,000 back into the general fund from the sheriff's office budget. That way it's just rolled over into the
But you
general.
got the cushion and it comes back.
Yeah, absolutely. It comes back into the general fund, basically. So we try to use up this fund first for some of that stuff. Postage, 300, principal boarding, that's where we talked about the increase, 55,000. Again, that's one of those things where you never know what you're gonna need. Have somebody in jail for 30 days or 2 days, it just depends on the number of factors. Maintenance and reservation, 2,000, transportation, 35,000, that's where we take a lot of our fuel from first initially. For our patrol cars, comes out of this prior to going into the sheriff's office budget to use that. That way that money is rolled back into the general. Miscellaneous, 5,000, uniforms, 1,500. Transfer, parole, ET, that is part of the ICE Compact, Interstate Compact Act for parole probation. So if Emmons County, we have somebody on paper, as we call it, supervised probation through Department of Corrections, and they want to transfer and move to the state of South Dakota or California. We have to pay, the state has to pay a fee to that state for that supervision, and that's where this goes. So if there's one of our supervised people on probation for Emmons County, and they're moving to another state, there's fees that have to be paid to that state, yeah, exactly, that's what that money is for. Capital outlay and equipment, again, 30,000, a lot of that is used, again, for vehicle stuff, equipment stuff, things like that, even for the office, anything that we need to replace there. Lexipol, that's our policy, deal for the sheriff's office, we've been doing that for 10 years, I'm gonna say, probably. It's pretty much a statewide deal. They maintain a lot of policies and procedures. They keep up with any state and federal law changes as far as use of force, pursuits. It's quite extensive as far as that goes. And it's something that it was a problem statewide that to keep up on a current policy and procedures is very, very time consuming. You take a large agency like Cass County, they have one employee working full-time, 40 hours a week, that's all they ever do, is up there, because state law has changed, case law comes down, you gotta change it, things change, and it's, so this is, we pay for that service to have that done, and it's worked out pretty good. Then you've got your 580 Medicare issues and stuff like that, so really, like I said, to recap, the increase would be for the boarding of prisoners and then travel and training. Any questions on that?
Nope.
Okay.
Anybody?
And like I said, salary is pretty much the consensus was across the board for all of them, they left that blank. I would recommend, personally, I did my email to Marlis, probably looking at a 4% COLA when you look at what it is today. And the possibility is, right now, it's right around that 3.1, 3.2%, but they project that probably closer to 4% by the end of this year. Cost of living, simply because of some of the pending tariffs that haven't taken effect yet, that probably are, we've all seen that and what's gonna be yet, so. Talking about the step and grade, I think, yeah, like Marla said, we need to meet with department heads, kind of go over that. It needs to be updated a little bit before we make that final presentation. Like I talked to Commissioner Miller yesterday, there's two parts of that step and grade. There's placing all the employees in a certain grade and step based on their job description and requirements and everything else. Then there's also attached to that a certain pay scale. Now, whether, I think it's more important that we at least adopt that step and grade. Whether the commission decides to do something with salaries, that's a decision you guys have to make on budgetary issues, but at least implementing that grade and step. Using the current salaries today, and then looking at any salary adjustments that may need to be. But that is based on, I think, we put a lot of time into that, three of us, and again, based on job description, responsibilities, what's their authority, put you at a certain grade. It's one of those, it's a living document, so as a living document, any future increases as far as cost of living adjustments is built into that. Once you plug it in, it all changes, it all shifts. So if the county was to do a 2%, 3% cost of living, that's plugged into that document, everything is adjusted. There's no more, yeah, exactly.
It's sporadic.
Yeah, so.
Right, and it really simplifies the process, cause
Oh,
if you're gonna do 4%, then you apply to the grade and step, and everybody that's a grade 8, step 4, just gets the 4, you don't have to move the steps, the
Yep.
steps and the grades are for tenure, or longevity, or promotions for a variety of reasons, but so that's where,
Actually, the
that's where
steps,
the
so
conversation.
everybody is assigned a grade based on your job description and your authority and other things, factors like that. The steps are based on what's your experience in that position, what's your education in that experience, what is your longevity with the county, are you a 2-year employee or a 20-year employee? And that was a problem we had in years past, when somebody was hired through the county department, regardless of what department you were in, there was no consistency with hiring somebody. It was, just numbers grabbed out of the sky. And this takes into account, again, your longevity, your experience. If you're gonna hire, how many road department who sees a turnover rate, right? If you hire a road department employee that has prior heavy equipment operating experience for the last 20 years versus somebody that has none, do you start them at the same grade scale? No, you shouldn't, right? That experience should be worth something. So maybe you start one at a step 3 and the other guy at a step 5, so you have that it's all built in there. Same thing when you talk about getting your CDL. Someone that has a CDL versus somebody that doesn't. There might be a step increase difference between them, which is, each step, I believe, is 2%? There's a 2% difference between each step. So maybe one's at a step 2 and then one's at a step 4, based on experience, based on the fact that it's all built into that, so.
So you gotta have that all documented too, huh, Gary?
Yeah, that's up to the department head to show all that, obviously, that they've got their CDL, and the same thing too with any certification, I don't care what type of certification, they have to maintain that. Again, a lot of certifications have expirations, some certification requires, continuous education.
Yeah.
They have to maintain that. If you don't maintain it, if you started working here with a CDL and a year later you let it lapse,
That's
you
all.
don't have a CDL anymore. You need to keep that up. That's an
Well,
incentive.
and that was always the biggest issue we had, right? Somebody had a CDL and let it go. Well, now what are they worth? Well, we're gonna take $2 an hour. Well, how did you know that that was the right amount of money to take? Or at least with these steps, it's like, okay, you're gonna go
Look
down a
at it.
step, and then at least it's consistent
Yeah.
across all the departments. And then, you know, and then the department heads are the ones that have to look at and addressing their own needs, like how do I keep my employees happy and retain them? They get, you know, there
Right.
needs to be separation within the department. You know, but the county as a whole is following the similar grade and step, and then every department has their own little wiggles in there to the best of their
And quite
ability.
honestly, I think it's gonna make your guys' job a lot easier. When
Maintain
it comes to
some.
budget, when it comes to hiring somebody for the road, you've got a map and a guideline to
Yes.
follow. And being consistent, cause that has been one of the biggest things with Emmons County and a lot of stuff, it's not the consistency, right? Why are you doing it today this way, but yet 6 months ago we did it a different way? This gives you that consistency, you're just following what you pre-approved what it is and it's all kinda laid out for you, so.
For lunchtime, right?
Lunchtime. Anything more to get? No, excuse me.
What's that?
Anything more to get?
Anything more, guys? If not, thank you.
Thank you, Garrett.
Yep, thank you.
Appreciate it, guys. Lunchtime, guys. First item on the agenda is Russ Flower, County Road Superintendent, on the monthly update.
Afternoon, guys.
Hey, Russ.
As far as the update and stuff, we got some guys out putting a culvert in right now. Actually, every day, 2 guys out doing that. We got 3 guys hauling gravel. The rest of the guys are all on blades, so that's everybody we got. Every man is out of the shop. There's nobody in the shop, including myself most days, so that's going as, we're doing what we can. I know it's not enough for everyone, but we're trying. We're doing, we have everything we got moving, so.
Yeah, everybody's busy.
They are, and as soon as we get caught up, it rains again, so.
Yeah, right.
But, yeah, other than that, things are moving along. Like I said, we're getting a few culverts knocked off the list. Yesterday, each of the 3 trucks got 14 loads apiece with gravel, which was a really good day, so.
Where are you focusing on, Russ?
With the gravel.
You want Hazelton now?
The gravel?
Yeah.
We were down here in the Knoll Pit, running south and north of there, as well as some of it to the west.
Okay.
Now we're out by Vandervorst, kinda doing the same, and we're just working our way north, hoping to make a big circle is kind of the plan.
Okay.
I do understand there's people that need gravel desperately, have waited a long time. I mean, that's part of the deal, but how do you pick and choose who's more important than the other guy, I guess, is the question, you know? I mean,
They all need gravel.
they all deserve it, they all need it.
Can't
We're
do it
just
all at once, so.
trying to get there when we can, so we're kind of prioritizing the roads as far as the federal aid roads.
Yeah.
And then branching out from there is what we're doing now, so
Yeah.
hopefully that people can understand that a little bit, I guess, and
So how's your gravel pile doing?
they're going down fast. I mean, we're burning up gravel, and if we continue at this pace, we're gonna use a lot of gravel this year. I mean, I'll be honest, we should, Sherbinski reached out to me. They have a lease on Ren and Tommy Hake's, place down there. He actually called on Monday, I believe it was. He's willing, he has a lease, so we have to go through him to actually get the gravel. He is willing to put us up our own pile, if that's what we choose to do. Price varies on the quantity that we put up. So he did throw some numbers out, I don't know if we wanna talk about them or not now, you know. And it would give us about a 5 to 7 year window to get it off of that property as well. That's how long he has the lease yet. He has to look, but he said it's guaranteed 5 years, he said maybe even 7 years to get it moved or hauled off in there.
Well, it's a lot shorter haul for a lot of places.
It is, we were last week in a few of them spots, we were up to an hour and a half to make a round. I mean, that gets to be, you don't get a lot of gravel hauled in that kind of time, but we don't really have any options. We gotta get the gravel there somehow, so. Tomorrow the plan is to actually start
double hauling, we're gonna haul from the Vandervorst pit out into by the cemetery and stuff, by the Hall Cemetery. And then as long as we're that close, we're gonna grab some from the Knoll pit and go back and try to get some down that big hill going down to the highway by Strasburg and stuff. Try to mix it a little bit and see how it works out. I mean,
Boy, that's the way to
if,
do it.
you know, they're not that far away, so it makes sense to grab some and try to take it back and we'll see how it works. And if it seems to mix okay and things are starting to firm up, we'll continue to do it, I guess.
Well, that's sand on that hill going down, that's all sand, isn't it? That road
It is,
built
yeah,
up.
it's,
That's right, so.
it's hard to hold it. That Knoll gravel has actually seemed to set up pretty good. It seems like pretty good gravel. And, that's why we're gonna give it a shot on that hill. That would be a big deal if we can get that taken care of for a while and have it stand up, you know.
What about the Holbaum pit? How did that turn out where they were building that road or reclaiming when we were up there last fall?
Pretty
Through
good.
that low area, is it good?
Yep,
Okay.
it's been a while since I've been up there, but the last time I was there this spring, everything was good.
Okay.
Looked okay and everything, as far as that getting into the pit, I mean, that piece there. Yeah, it turned out okay.
Okay.
I just wanna say, Ron Dykeman told me yesterday after you put the gravel on the Tenwick Road, about a mile in, he said it was night and day difference.
Okay.
Coming
Did
in
you
through
ride
there.
it too?
I just been noticing it, cause I've been driving it the last couple of days, and it's, even the way Al's got it bladed, that, where'd you grab that gravel from?
That come out of Vandervorst as well.
But it seems like it's blending well with that base that's already there, because it's actually, it's hard too, like, cause that, even that clay stuff felt like if you got to the sides, like it wasn't even, there was like no rock with it or nothing, and it was like dusting and falling apart, where now this feels like a road again, so it's.
So what are you using? Are you using those, what they call picks?
No.
On that clay and then incorporate this new gravel, or no? No?
I would like to be doing that, cause it mixes the gravel a lot better, but with all the,
Pushback.
yeah, I just took them off and just left them off.
With
and
the clay on the Tenvick Road, I don't think it's gonna be hard to mix, I can tell you that now, cause that's,
You gotta know.
I think what you put on top's gonna get pushed right into it at the next rain, and it's probably gonna be pretty good. You might have to add a little more, but that's what that road needed, is just everything but clay now, so a lightweight material like that was the way to go, I think that's.
Even that there by David Reitman, south,
Yeah.
and coming from that gravel pit that they've got with those 3 culverts with plates, when you go west and then north, that's all clay in that area, isn't it?
Yeah, and that's what we're doing with that Vandervoort stuff. We've got stuff by Hazelton, basically all over the county. We're trying to go and hit them spots as they're driving, cause the trucks they've gotten good enough now to where they're dumping it without a blade.
Okay.
So we do need a blade periodically, but not 24/7.
Yeah.
So they're
So
doing,
they can-
right, it's able to free everybody up a little bit, and it seems to be working okay. I mean, there will be a hiccup here and there where we have to go touch something up and blade it when, you know,
But before it was too wet, right? It wasn't scouring
it
out.
was, when it first started, it was really wet, it wasn't coming out.
Yeah.
Now it's dried up a little bit, and then the contents of the gravel changed as well, so it seems to be going fairly decent for now.
One thing to remember with the Knoll pit, we crushed additional rock into that.
Okay.
Like, we actually were bringing rock in and you know, so that's something to consider, like if you're gonna have any more crushed in the future, that was what we were finding we were short on, like, even though we were probably meeting like the class 13 grade, we were on like the low sieve of the rock, so we tried to up it to like the higher end, and that seems to really be, like, it just kinda dilutes that clay content, cause if you're on the max end of the clay and the low end of the rock, but you're still meeting the grade, then you have this gumbo that is great when it's dry and it's bad when it's wet, and I think that's what, I think in the future, we're gonna have to kind of account for when we're crushing gravel, like, we can't just meet the grade, we need to try and even these markers,
Match
even
it
if we gotta haul some sand in to match that, and probably even try and be on the low scale of a clay, maybe not low, but you get where I'm saying, where you can't have the max amount of clay to make the grade and the low amount of rock, and then it's still expected to be class 13 road gravel, so that's.
I think the crushed rock is a plus, isn't it, versus these rounds for compaction?
Yes,
Right?
yes.
It wedges.
And when you do the LTAP classes and stuff, they stress that, yes, it costs you money upfront to do the better gravel, but longevity wise, it's money in the bank, you know, so. I would agree with Aaron, we should definitely, instead of just crushing gravel, we should be on top of,
Mixing it.
right, doing
Well,
it.
your first reaction is you wanna crush it as reasonably as possible, well, a cheap pile of mud gravel's not really a
No,
valuable
it's-
pile, and that's what, instead of always just going, well, we can't afford to do that, you're going, you almost can't afford not to do it. Like,
Right.
cause it's proven now that that knoll gravel is
Better.
probably some of our best gravel, because we made it that way.
Yeah.
I think we're also gonna run into a situation where you're gonna have a hard time finding gravel, but you can find some clay and rock,
Yep.
or we're gonna have to haul sand from somewhere. I mean, to make the gravel we want, you're gonna have to just spend the money, I mean, otherwise you're almost better off not doing it. I mean, it's just a
Yep.
waste to have this junk that we're dumping out on the roads that we did for $5 a yard, went for 7 or 8, you could have some stuff that actually helps, so.
And in that hate pit, that's gotta be a lot like the knoll pit where Dennis Hummel had to the north, what was that like? That was
Well, I think
sandy,
a lot of it
wasn't
was pretty sandy, and that's where the idea came that you got rock piles, they're
Yep.
maybe 5 miles away, but you go in and, you know, whether you buy the rock piles for $1 a yard or somebody donate whatever, and you take the time to haul it in and crush it with it, and
Yep.
I think it's worth it, I think.
Can they do that, Shabetz?
Yeah, yep. They can make, you know, whatever you need to make or however you wanna make it, but I mean, when you factor in the hauling distance that we're doing now, I mean, there again, you're either paying it on the trucking side or you're gonna pay it on the gravel side, so it's gonna come out
It
probably
washes the same.
a horse a piece if we haul it 30, 40 miles one way. I mean, that's all money and time as well.
But I mean,
know,
if you
so-
were hauling that gravel 40 miles and you knew it was good gravel going on the road to
Then
fix
that
a
makes a
road,
difference.
like, to me, that even your mindset is like, that's worth it. Hauling it 40 miles just to go, oh, I hope this works, that's a waste of money too, like, so, you saved $100 crushing a pile of rock, you know, or a pile of gravel that you have currently, but it's not the gravel you want, it's kind of a waste, it is.
It's a waste of.
And then you're hauling it from one end of the county to the other to blend it.
Yep.
I think even like the Woolbaum and any of them areas where it's like, well, it's heavier gravel, it's like, I think we need to look at making it lighter then, and same with the Vandervorst stuff. We should have probably taken some time and, I mean, but the thought process, you're always trying to save money, but you're finding it's costing you money later, so.
Other than that,
Did you ever get a rock pile contract written up with Joe or not?
I did not. I'll have to get with Joel today, tomorrow, do that, yeah.
Whatever happened with Hyde?
I have not made it up that far, like I said, I'll be honest with you, when you get going in the morning, there's not a lot of,
Time of the day.
there's not. By the time you get done with the phone and everything else and drive from that side to that side,
Yeah, day's
but,
done,
I
right?
mean,
short day.
we'll get Jim taken care of there as well, and
Yeah.
I've talked to Wendy personally, he does not have a problem with it, but we will get it on paper and
Get
get
it on
something.
paper, yeah.
I can have Joel draft something up for that as well, and just have
Well,
Wendy
He'll
sign
do
it.
it.
Good
Yeah.
idea.
He'll keep the peace and move on.
He said he doesn't have a problem with getting some gravel in there and taking care of that, so.
Good.
We don't even have to touch it, just probably one load in and done deal.
Yeah, I guess I wasn't here when you guys agreed to what to
Right, he
give
was-
him, but,
yeah.
He would spread it around, I think he said.
He said, I'll move it.
Yeah, he
I'll
just
move
wanted
it.
the gravel,
okay.
give him something to do.
Yep.
The only thing I wanna bring up, just quick, just because I've gotten about 4 calls and it's all on the same 2 roads. So, it's, so it'd be Main Avenue, or, it's 65th, that's the one that goes past the dump ground and the cell phone tower there west of Hazelton.
Yeah.
And 3rd Avenue, which is the other road when they don't wanna take that one, so that's the reason why those 2 roads are, cause I'm getting all the calls, cause
Yep.
when they wanna divert to the other one, it's just as bad, and it's not that the whole road is bad. But there's like a 100-foot stretch where there'll just be just like a black spot, and it just,
We talked about that actually this morning, I was up there last week, took a look at them spots have been there for a long time and they're due to be fixed, so tomorrow morning I will have the guys make a couple rounds with the trucks. That's pretty much clay and stuff from what I've seen up there as well, we'll try to
I
heal
mean, I
them
think
up.
it'd be a quick fit, like, you don't have to spend a week up there, I think if you gave it, like you said, a day or so, you'd probably, cause they're not, the people aren't even mean about, they're like, there's just these 2
Right.
holes, and I think if you get them patched up, I think you'd have
At least try to get them a way out if things get
and then the
really wet, you know.
The only other spot is Main Avenue. It
Which
would
one is
be,
Main?
well, Main Avenue is, so this one I'm talking about is right at the Weber farm, like Albert Weber's and
Okay.
Dan and them.
Yep.
Yeah.
Where Main Avenue is, I think it's 74th, and then it goes from like 74th to 76th. that intersection, there's no culvert in that road. And the ditch is only like 6 inches lower than the road, so every time we get a big rain, the water actually sets on it, and then it starts to trail, and then it cuts. I don't know if the right way to do it is to raise the road a little bit and put a culvert, or to cut the ditch down and put a culvert, but it kinda needs a culvert or some kind of like a water crossing. It's been like this for 100 years, so I mean, I don't think it's something you gotta just immediately fix, but long term, that's, cause I know Brady Weber brought it up to me, I think about a year ago.
Oh, there you go.
And now this spring, I've been working back there and I drive that road and right on that intersection right there,
Oh, right in the corner.
that, see, it runs in that
Yep,
ditch
I've
and
seen
it
it.
off their farmyard, and there's no culvert in that, well, it's Center Avenue there, but that's
Yep.
Main Avenue, but, and it just pools on that sucker.
There's kind of a little, it's a kind of a creek kind of.
Well, and it's
not creek,
kind of,
but
it's
there's
kind of,
lower.
the road is actually kind of in a low spot, so
Yep.
it's probably why they didn't put a culvert. The trouble is it washes a bunch of gravel and then it makes a horrible rut there,
Yep.
that, like, I mean, when you're driving there, it's just terrible, so. Just, I don't know, you wanna just drive out there when you're out that way, see if you can think of a good way to try and.
Remedy it.
It just, yeah, it's not a good, it's kind of makes it a dangerous intersection is my point, cause that, almost to where that black center line is, after a big rain, there'll be water like halfway on the road,
Yep,
and that's not really a good
that's been like
scenario.
that for years when I checked.
Right, I mean, like I said, it's probably not something to go on the emergency list, but gosh, if you are doing a project out there, see if there's a way you could maybe try and.
Work it in.
If you think there's a good idea, maybe the guy could just muck that ditch out and then you could get a culvert, I don't know, I didn't look at it super hard, I just know it's
Okay.
kind of a continual problem, and when they call me, I tell them I'm gonna bring it up, so.
And that Bob and Linda Shearmeister south of that Harold, Harmon Apper place, the old place with that house on
That's,
top.
that's what
That's
he's,
that Third Avenue,
Yeah,
that's
that
the
goes
one
north,
that
yeah.
stretch there is
And the
just,
one south.
yep,
that's the ones
Yep.
that are.
yep, that's the
that's
one
bad.
that, all the calls in that area are just,
Yep.
that's just some.
And this is, what's her name, Scott Ballmiller's mom,
Right.
over on the east side of
Carol?
Highway 83,
Yeah.
is it Carol?
Yep,
She tried to get out to go over to see Scott, he's here in Fargo,
Right.
and when we had that inch and a half of rain, so they
Yeah.
can't get
Couldn't
out.
get out.
well, they did 68th and 69th last year,
Yep.
and they didn't quite catch 67th, which is right up to it,
Yep,
and that,
yep.
it just needs some spot gravel into
It
it.
isn't the whole road, I think
Yep.
they're just clay
Just-
spots.
Yep, you can
The
see
first
them when
20
it gets a
miles.
little wet,
Yep.
then there's like a black spot
Yep.
for 100 feet that just is a bugger, and then it's decent for a mile or two,
Yep.
and then it's either a hilltop or a low spot,
Yep.
it seems like they always grab, so.
That's the same road that Beestrom is on?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay, cause he calls
Yep.
as well.
Yep.
Yes.
Checking in on it and
It
stuff.
just, there's some bad clay spots, it's so obvious, you know?
And there is, I mean, they're throughout the county.
They're all over the county,
We're plugging away as many as we can, but,
Yep.
I mean,
Even that down there by David Brightman, there's a ton of gravel on the shore, a ton of it. But the road is a mud mess, that's all clay down there, isn't it, Jim?
Yeah, it's pretty.
Heavy soil.
Yeah, yeah.
It's tough, they didn't just add it overnight.
Russ, like if Sherbinsky, somebody's gonna have to make a decision, we're gonna have to make a decision or something, cause they'll probably do that this month, coming month.
he said right around July, August, he said he
Yeah.
thought he'd be down there, so yeah, we should definitely, if we do wanna pursue that, we should let him know.
Yeah, we should let them know.
He said there's enough there to basically do pretty much whatever we wanna do, so, as far as quantity.
Yep.
I would say we better not probably pass it up. Well, I suppose you gotta see what it's like too, though. To pass specs, or is it gonna be good?
Well, it passed before when they made it,
Yeah,
but at the same time, I agree with Aaron, if it's gonna cost a little bit more to do it right,
yeah,
I would definitely
Do
be
it right.
do it right, yeah, we're
Don't
gonna
do it.
thinking we should do it that way, so we can use it
Yep,
wherever we have to use it, or however we have to use it, you know, and not have to try to fit it in to a place that's kind of a inconvenience, so to speak, for everyone, really, you know.
Well, and historically, it's always like, well, what can we afford to do? We can afford to do 50,000 yards, we crush 50,000. I'd rather crush 35,000 and have it be a little bit better, you know, like, I mean, then you at least feel like you have a pile you can use, so that's, cause usually when they shoot you a number, they shoot it to you and you're, well, we can spend
a little more.
$200,000, well, then you try and get as much gravel as you can for 200,000, well, then you take what the
What it
ground
is.
gives you, and then sometimes it's not what you really need, so.
Yeah.
I can reach out to them and get some concrete numbers for quantities, and then get back to you guys if that works.
Yeah,
Sounds good, Russ, yeah, yeah.
And that's about all I got, I believe.
Russ, we didn't even haul any gravel on 8th Avenue, way to the, right close to 96, did you, this year?
On 8th.
That's the one that comes past Turnus's, you just went to,
7th.
is that 7th?
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
Tony Turnus, you mean, and
Oh,
Dwayne?
that's
Yep,
7th.
that's
That's
seven.
Seventh Avenue, yeah.
Well-
We did haul from, the Strasburg Road, which is 80,
88,
88
And then you went to the
or no, 89.
Road.
to, right, exactly.
Went to where?
The Grossman Road.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, there was a lot of rocks on the edge and, one person called, talked to me and said, well, that's gotta be in the gravel. I said, no, we didn't haul any gravel, you know, that close to like 96.
That question came up a few different times when we were hauling it, because when you did the pile down there, we did not see them rocks come out, and we were
Oh.
consistently picking up piles and piles of rock.
So there was some rock in it.
They weren't there before, so they had to come, I mean, but the gravel pile, everyone that's been there says there's none in there. I myself,
And then they show up in there, yeah.
they came somewhere, they're there,
They must have been like under the pile or something, yeah.
but we did haul, we gotta go down and check it again, I mean, if there's some sitting there, we can get some guys down and get them picked up.
Yeah.
Really shouldn't be in the gravel pile,
I
but
don't
not with the
know.
sieves and everything, it should screen that out, and if
Yeah,
it's smaller than
that's
like.
what they said.
If we're getting them from the bottom, I don't know, but like I said, you don't see them physically in the gravel pile itself, there's been nothing
Just
showed up.
when you dump it on the road.
By the time you blade it back and forth a few times, here's all these little softball sized rocks coming out, so
Yeah.
they're coming from somewhere.
Yeah, he had a spoiler, he had a box on there, he showed me a picture, he said that was his second load.
Yeah,
I mean, there almost has to be like a hole in the screens or something in that crusher though, I mean, cause that should sieve that out though, that's why I'm.
yeah, and I've never physically looked at the bottom of the pile, like I said, maybe we got too deep loading or something where they're getting them, but we'll take a look at it and get it addressed.
I didn't hear nothing about this until now.
Yeah.
I know one thing with the roads being a little bit wetter this spring though, they're popping some rocks out that are like rolling out.
Well, I think
Like-
it's good to get them.
Right,
out.
but I mean, like, we're at a dry
Oh, yeah,
year, you
we're-
might pop over them, and these
Yeah.
wet years, they're roll, cause even like Al would go by my place, and he'd have a hole, you're like, oh, you pulled a rock, like, it just, guy blades the roads all these years, and you're still pulling rocks, like, so it does happen, especially in the wetter years, I think, too, where you might, it's soft enough, the rock rolls instead of going over the top or shearing it, so.
Well, I know, I picked a few up, other guys have too.
Yeah. Sooner pick them up than end up in the ditch when you get into the hay
Oh,
condition.
I
And you
like,
pick 'em up
I
in
like
hay
my
condition.
mowers too, so I try to pick them up too, cause I don't wanna wreck mowers.
Yeah, there's definitely some roads that are worse than others, but other than popping them out, I mean, yes, they should be picking them up, sometimes you miss one here and there.
Oh,
Yeah, well, that's-
you're not getting rid of them all.
It's, we
I
gotta
farm and you never get them all.
No,
get a handle on it somehow,
yeah, yeah.
so.
Yeah, I
Okay.
say check that out.
Thanks, Russ.
On the gravel deal, you bet.
Okay,
Everything else is good?
it was when I came in, we'll see what happens when I go back
There you
out.
go. That sounds like.
That's all you can do,
Sounds
yeah.
like a busy place, yeah, there's something sure to have come up now, yeah.
Good company.
Nothing a donut can't fix, need
Yeah,
donuts.
yeah.
Bag of them or take the box
Yeah,
out
take
to
a
the
bag
shop
of
with
them,
you.
yeah.
So yeah, I guess, do we have anything on the budget, are we done, what would you,
Oh, yeah, I don't.
I guess we could do the budget too.
Knock that out quick.
Yeah.
Might as well.
Did you have any specific stuff you wanted to talk about, Russ, or?
one of them, I guess, we have our bridge inspections coming up this year. And that's throughout the county, to my understanding, they haven't started yet, it's gonna start later into the fall, the way I think she said. So we asked for 35,000 on the engineering side for county road and bridge. And I don't know what it's gonna pertain to and how many they're actually gonna do, if they're gonna do them all this year, or if that's gonna be some next year as well. But that was the increase on that side of it. And then, the only other couple things I had, everything else pretty much mirrors what they had last year. Me and John went through this a few different times here. We did ask for a road equipment purchase, we asked for another 150,000 last year, it was 0. We'd like to possibly get a dump truck, a tractor that we could actually keep, a used tractor of some sort, just to have a tractor on hand. Possibly a mini excavator, depending on how much is allocated, if at all any is allocated. And then the last one I have is the amount for the equipment leases, which is the blades, and that's gonna be in the county road and bridge as well. Last year, we were allocated 571,000, and that came up to be, do you know more or less 50, is it 50-some thousand short of their actual payments for the blades?
No, it should be great, right?
No, we're actually short on that side of it. We came, my only question is that's like a concrete number, that blade leases that we have, you know, that's a fixed number
Are
that
we gonna be short this fall with something coming up then?
Yeah, we're, according to the, I don't have it written down and that's my fault here, but we are coming in, we were, I believe it's right around 50,000 short to cover that lease payment that we have to take out of our budget. So, I mean, we'll be okay, we'll be able to do it. It would just be nice to cover that, is what I'm getting at, I guess.
Yeah, it's a known expense.
Right, there's nothing we can, I mean, it's set in concrete, there's nothing we can do about it.
Well, it's probably, and sometimes that will happen, especially with these lead times where we're like rolling a blade in from one year to another, so.
Yeah.
Like we might have had a $50,000 where we didn't make the payment in 24 and it came in 25, cause the lead time, some of them, we were bidding them blades out, they were like 18 months out, so you don't make the payment till they show up, so even though you budgeted to do a blade in like 23, you might not get it till the end of 24, and then you already have made your lease payments on that, so.
So it gets,
It's,
sometimes it'll.
right, it's maybe not
cross
necessarily a
over.
budgeting mistake, it's like a
Well, I
timing.
put in interest too, I suppose we didn't figure that my interest.
Right, but it's
Yeah.
tough just because like you said, when these lead time, it used to bid a blade, you'd get it in 3-4 months, you'd get it the same year you budgeted. Now, it's almost impossible to do that.
You're up.
Well, there's a lot of times, like especially in the last couple of years, I couldn't even keep track of them, cause we would be committed to blades and we'd have the machine here for a year that technically was already traded off, but we weren't getting our machine, cause then we were having issues with the extended warranty, cause they're like, well, why should we warranty it? We traded this in, this isn't even our machine no more, but they weren't, so, I mean, sometimes you're gonna run into that just with this deal, it's more of like not that we didn't have the money, it just didn't show up when it should've, right, so.
So you put 580 and you need more than that then in 26?
No, and I dragged the other paper here. I raced in here from out the thing here, so again, sorry, but the 580 will cover,
Okay.
as of now, to my knowledge, will cover everything that we need on that side of it. So that would be the blade leases is what that is.
Yeah, equipment, it should be nice to, somehow we gotta figure out, I would think, to get some of these, gravel recovery discs for part of the blades.
Yep, and that's in the process, I guess. We were just we got a few things, you know, next arrows in the equation, a few different things, so eventually we can.
Make it work.
Right, we'll just kinda wait and see the effect here and see what everybody does or doesn't do, I guess, is the plan, or it's kinda what we were thinking out there.
You
So.
don't need them till next spring,
Right, exactly. I mean, we could still use them, no doubt, but I mean, we got plenty to do without them as well, so.
Are they talking to?
They
Who knows?
won't say. They won't say.
Okay.
It's their,
Nice to-
it's their policy.
Policy.
To cover us and them.
be nice to have 4.
That would give us one in each shop, yes.
The other thing I would tell you, like with as far as like a mini excavator, I would look into like maybe getting a hold of like Lowell or Steve from RDO, on like, they have like a long-term rental. It's
Okay.
a pretty competitive rate, and then the nice part is you don't have that machine sitting around in the winter. And
Right.
you get a new machine every time, you know, you don't have to worry about your warranties and you get a 5-ton excavator and it wasn't big enough, next year you rent
Get a
yourself an
bigger-
8-ton or vice versa, you know, and like, I would maybe consider that just because the rental rates, if you go out like 2-3 months, they actually get pretty reasonable, at least they used to anyway.
Okay,
That's something I would
Cause-
consider versus maybe trying to purchase one just because,
right. and we-
otherwise you got this machine that there's probably 4 or 5 months out of the year, that thing's probably gonna be almost useless, so.
Right, cause a lot of the culverts I see, I mean, after using one, having one, all that stuff, you can,
Yeah.
the majority of the stuff can be done with a mini X, a lot
Our
of this
20-ton
stuff.
machine's too big for most culverts.
It is.
It's way
The
too big.
inconvenience of loading, unloading, and then just the machine itself, it gets to be too big, you know, so. We need a big one, don't get me wrong, but we could definitely use a smaller one as well,
Be
so.
handier.
So on your technology, that's, more or less your GPS and so forth, Yes, why that went up. Are you seeing benefits from that GPS system?
Yes.
Good.
Everything's in all the machines?
Yes, that is up and running and stuff. Actually, I showed it to somebody here just the other day. They asked where somebody, or we were wondering where this guy was, we punched it right on and shows them exactly where it is, you know, so it does come in really handy.
Okay.
The technology side of it is also, yeah, that would be the GPS, and then that's like computers and stuff like that for the office and that kind of stuff, so. We tried to, like I said, we tried to cut as much as we could where we could, but at the same time, we don't wanna undercut it
You
too
said
much.
Verizon got us a pretty good deal, cause they took so damn long to get all that hooked up, right?
They did, it should be coming in at like $12 per tracker, or per machine.
Okay.
For, I think it was a year, they were gonna give that to us, something like that, that introductory fee. So we did get a rebate or a cut on that, because it took longer than expected to get it all set up.
Did you get rid of all that equipment that you had for sale online? Is that
Not-
all gone?
Not all of it, we did sell the fuel trailer, that's still out there, we're waiting for the check to come, should be any day here. So that fuel trailer, that Terry scraper, and that rake, 6-7 wheel rake, whatever that was,
That's gone.
those 3 items are gone.
Okay.
You know.
That old, what do you call it, that tar tank, is that for sale too?
It was, it isn't right now.
Okay.
We've kind of been talking with the city a little bit to figure out how we can make this all go around and stuff, and it's probably something that should be addressed sooner than later as well, because we're gonna run out of nice weather and stuff as well, getting it set up and operational and stuff, you know, but I talked to Tyler a couple different times. Honestly, if each of us or one of us or whatever had access to just getting tar, that's easier than running this tank is. I mean, you gotta, every time you need tar, you gotta reheat this tank up. It takes, it's propane, it takes a lot of propane to get it hot. You gotta have somebody there to run the tank, to load, unload, all that stuff. It just,
It's not
we're
economical.
short on the man side of it, I mean, we really are, and that's one more thing in the equation that, yeah. So I can talk to Tyler again, and I think he was in the understanding as well that, you know, but things have changed. We were both getting it out of Bismarck, Morton County and Burley County. I don't know if that will continue or not, or if we'd have to pre-buy it, pre-order it, something like that, but I can look into that as well.
Now you know why it's tough to get. Because it's not fun to deal with.
And the problem is these counties, they can't charge more money to pay for their propane and their electricity, they have to, they can't upcharge another county.
Right.
So they got the manpower into it, you know, like Morton County, they got a tar tank, they got the manpower, the heating into it, and then they give it away to, they're losing money by selling it.
There's no
to us.
benefit to helping us other than just being friendly.
Right.
There's no
That's all it
financial
is.
benefit, right, there's no, so yeah, it's.
You know, so that gives us a little bit of an incentive, because I think that spigot, I mean, there's been years the city, we've had a hell of a time, I mean, they've gone to Ashley, they've gone to Napoleon, they've gone to Burley, they've gone all over to get tar, and then all of a sudden you can get it, no problem, everybody will hand it out, it seems like, so, I mean, it's a roller coaster when it comes to tar, but it gets more difficult, cause you can't just get 1,600 gallons delivered to you if that's all your tar tank holds. It's 25 or 5,000 or however many
Right.
gallons, that's what they're bringing, a tanker full. So it's, I know we, as a city, we were pretty happy that you guys decided to buy that. We thought it would be a good deal to set it up and then we'd be able to get tar, but it doesn't come without its cost to us as well.
And Strasburg, they gets it in barrels, don't they?
I don't
100
think
gallon
they
barrels.
did, I don't know if
No,
they still do.
50s,
Yeah.
yeah.
And I mean, it is, we have it, it is an option to get it up and
Don't they
running.
have to
I
heat
just,
that?
Nope.
like I
they
said,
don't.
it's,
How big is that tank? How many, you know, how many gallons?
I don't,
I mean, does it have to be
That's
that
huge.
big?
No.
well, it depends who you're gonna supply, I guess.
I guess,
You know,
but, I mean, it's huge. Well, that's what I thought, that's gotta be,
What is it, Russ?
I don't know.
Five?
I thought it was like 8,000.
well, that's what I was
That's
thinking,
gotta be
10
5 to
thousand
10.
somewhere in there, it's
It's
gotta
not
be.
I
big.
thought it was like 8,000, but,
See, and I don't know
I
if.
mean,
a
the
guy
other big
necessarily
thing
needs
too
that
though
much.
is it's just like the fuel tanks though, there's a certain size you wanna get in order to procure
Yeah,
the
the
amount
oil,
you can
yeah.
get, like a lot of times you have to take a tanker, well, you can't have a 2,500 gallon tank and then still get tar, you need
Yeah,
it.
you gotta have
It's
a
kind of the
heated
same
up.
reason why we did such a big fuel tank in Strasburg. Gave you the ability to take on a tanker and a half, or between two of them, you could take a tanker, and then that created value, you
Yep.
get cheaper fuel, more reliable sources.
Yep.
So it's kind of the same deal with this tar tank, your value came with like, well, if you get that big a one, then you can, if you're gonna go for it, otherwise don't mess with it, cause buying a 1,000 gallon tank, you're not gonna get any better situation, so sometimes that's where it happens, but like you said, it's not fun.
Cause you have a tar wagon out there too, right?
We do,
Yeah.
You know, I mean, that's the other thing a guy could factor in, maybe a 5 or 4,000 gallon tank, and then the city's got an 800 gallon tar wagon, and I don't know how big yours is, so you can maybe get, you know, you could maybe fill all these things at one crack with a tanker, and then it wouldn't be such a pain in the rear to, I mean, 8,000 gallons of tar to heat up and continue to use is a nightmare, but I think half that probably would be cheaper and easier, and take a lot less time to get it.
Well, this tar like Strasburg uses, that's liquid, they don't have to heat it.
No.
So can you get tar that you don't have to heat in bulk?
I don't know.
I don't know.
Well, everything's different, because I know like Hazelton has that emulsion, that might be similar to what they have in that.
I don't know.
And so, that didn't even come out of a traditional tar wagon, they had to get that, cause then they had that Durapatcher and everybody's kinda doing their own thing, mostly because Hazelton and Strasburg run into the same problem. They only needed a tanker of tar, and they are a trailer and they couldn't get it filled.
What were you
so they
getting,
were
Russ,
switching.
that the city was getting too? That was I can't remember what they called it, but.
Yeah.
It had to be heated hotter
Right, something 13,
by
whatever
5
the
or
thing.
so many degrees or something, and then it wasn't supposed to reactivate, but I've noticed that's bull crap. My brand new driveway would tell you that that's bull crap, there's tar all over it, and I see it everywhere.
The vehicle was so
It was never supposed to reactivate, and then it got to like 99 degrees during the day, and it reactivated, it was never supposed to reactivate until it got over 99. It had some weird stipulations, but I don't think any of them are coming to fruition unless it's.
County's only got, what, 18 miles of pavement?
It takes about 1,800 gallons to do what we have to do, so we'd have about 2 tankers, our thing is 1,000 gallons. If we fill it twice,
You got all you need.
we're done, but I agree with James, when you factor in the cost thing, it's not a good deal. I mean, I'm not against helping anybody, that's not the thing, it turns into a little bit more than just
Yeah.
filling a load of tar is what
Yeah.
it amounts to, you know?
Well, it's different every year, like now, doing a chip seal in Linton, they're not gonna use 1,600 gallons of tar like they did this past year, you know, or 1,800 last year. They're gonna use a lot less year one, and then a little more year two, and a little more year three. So, it's a pain all the way around. I just know that there's been times with the city that they've had to run all over, cause it's, at one point you can get tar from everybody's and their brother, and the next time you can't.
Get a gallon
No,
of tar.
you know, we used to just get it right through the state, and the state said, well, that's not working, because you pay the state back, and it wasn't going back into these guys' pot, it was going into the big state pot, so they were losing money out of their budget by selling tar
Well,
to.
the other trouble though is that nobody could get tar for that stretch, that was where this all started.
Right.
Was during
Yep,
cold,
yep.
cause even.
Is that where it started?
These guys had just enough tar, so they weren't supplying,
Right.
and then, so Linton didn't get it, we didn't get it. And then that's when I think like Hazelton and some of them started changing stuff, and then we just started going wherever we could get it. And I think that one year, we didn't even tar till dang near fall till we got tar, like, we couldn't do it until like August or September, so. That's the reason this whole conversation even started, is because COVID and and then ever since then, everybody's just like, well, we're not doing that no more, so now that changed, cause before, like you said, you just drive out the state shop, they'd fill you up, so.
Yeah, I don't know what the answer is, but
Yeah,
we'll let that to the.
The answer is less headaches, right?
tear all the asphalt out and go back to gravel.
I'd say that stuff Strasburg uses about 800 gallons a barrel.
$800 a barrel?
50.
Is it really?
It's expensive. We buy
Well,
it
you
from
buy
them
because of
for
that
church.
parking, you a church?
Yeah, we.
Yeah, that barrel tar is, I'm not sure.
But if they buy it for the whole city, but we buy it from, they just get a little extra.
Right. You
But
probably
I
need a
think-
couple barrels.
Yeah, we bought 3, we only used 2, but I think it's about, it will be 2,400 or a little more for 3 barrels. That dries hard though, it doesn't, you don't need to heat it, and it doesn't, get sticky, that's why we use it.
You don't drag it inside.
No, that's why we use it.
And I believe our bill to Morton County was 66,000 something,
66,000?
no, 6,000 something,
Oh, yeah, so this is way cheaper.
if I remember right,
I
I have
don't
to
know
look
what
at
the deal
it.
is with that, why some people, I don't know why the city of Linton's against that barrel tar. It might be an expense thing, I
It's,
don't know.
well, yeah, I think, pretty sure. It's fairly you pay for it, it's easier, but, doesn't wash off anything any easier, but
It's
you don't have
messy.
to, yeah, it's messy, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what the answer is there.
I can reach out to Tyler again and kinda see what, try to come, I know we need a pump, we don't have, it's not a complete setup, we gotta purchase a pump, maybe some other stuff, I don't know.
Is there even a heater in it?
There's a heater on it, but I
If it
mean,
works or not,
I
you
gotta
don't
lie
know.
to you, how much is there and how much is not there. There's a pile in this thing and a tank, that's what I can tell you. And that's as far as I've
Where
dug
did that
into
come
it.
from there? I
It
don't
was
know.
I wanna say it was a used deal from up in the oil field or something, it was significantly cheaper than a new one, so it was either that or nothing, and I think they found it and picked it up, and that was about the only option to get a tank was, you're buying a used one that got dismantled by who knows, and like you said, you're gonna put it together, and you're probably gonna have to, or maybe the component was shot, so the pump was bad, they tore the rest out and sold it, and so now you gotta buy a new pump, which,
Is it the same setup as Morton County or Burley?
I've never seen Morton and Burley's.
I'm pretty sure it was the same setup as Burley counties, I'm not sure about Morton. Cause I think Tyler had originally said that there was Skylar was working with a guy from Burley County that was the guy that set up theirs or knew about theirs or something like that.
I don't remember for sure, but I thought it came from out west somewhere, it was just.
The tank did, I think, but the setup wise.
Right, and I think that's
similar to
why
Burley.
they wanted to buy it, is cause they knew some people were familiar with it or
Right.
something, but again, nobody had time to put it together, and so it's just kind of been.
I mean, and if you guys get together and you
I don't think
decide
they
you
pay
wanna
a lot.
try it, and we try it, and it just gets to be like, this ain't worth it, it's too expensive or too labor intense, I'm sure the city would kick in too, or help with, even if you need manpower to light it or to babysit it, I shouldn't say that without talking to Tyler, but maybe, I mean, just convenience wise, I think it would be nice, but if it's, if you wanna get it set up, try it for a year, and you're like, this sucks, then we can always just get rid of it.
If it isn't too costly to set up.
Yeah.
And there again, I'd have to check into it some more, and I can dig into it, kinda see what's going on and what we need, and,
We just may never run into a problem where tar is so hard to get, like you said during COVID, it was just that kind of.
We don't know.
Right.
I know like Morton County, they have theirs electrically heated, so when we're coming up, they want us there and gone, and they shut it off immediately when we're done.
Oh, I'm sure that's
Cause
just
it's,
cranking out.
even this propane for this 1,000-gallon one, it has a 100-gallon tank on, I think we filled that 2 or 3 times, just for that thing that we have, So it adds up quickly.
Quickly, yeah, on a big tank.
Yeah,
That takes a lot of heat.
Yeah.
that's why it's questionable whether it's worth it or not.
Different ballgame than oil field versus here.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I bet if you take a tanker load, you gotta take like 8,000 or something.
Well, that's,
I would think, yeah.
that's the
some-
game
that's
you're in, there's no
about what they
small
want.
quantities with a lot of that stuff, you know, so that's.
To
what
get
we're
a
doing.
deal.
Right, unless you just wanna pay way more than you want, you know, it's
Yeah.
one way or the other, so. Either
So-
paying to maintain your own outfit, or you're overpaying to maintain someone else's, I mean, you're
Does
doing.
it keep in a tank like over a year?
As far as I know, yes, you know, the only problem, if you only use 1,000, 2,000 gallons, you have to continuously heat that whole thing up every time you wanna
Every
use it.
time you
Yeah.
gotta eat.
The whole thing, yeah.
That's
So
where
you
it
gotta
runs
eat
into.
8,000.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of a big.
But I think it does store, to my knowledge, you can keep it in there year
The
after
city's
year.
tar wagon's full, they fill it up at the end of the year and they park it and it just sits till they need it in the spring, that way they don't have to go struggling when they got somebody set up. They, hey, can we get one more wagon full, and then that way in the spring, they don't have to go back, and they have it if something comes up or whatever, so.
Well, I think the thought process was that we were gonna be a hub for the state and people, you know, we're just gonna be another, like, hey, we can get you 1,000 gallons, or
Oh,
we,
there
you know, I
you
mean,
go.
I don't, it's not like, well, we're buying this 8,000 gallon tank, we're gonna buy a tanker load, then we're not gonna know what to do with it, the idea was like, probably not gonna buy a tanker load if we're the only ones that needed tar, we'd maybe
Yeah.
go struggle and find a tank load, but if the city was out and the state was out and us, and it's like, well, we can get a tanker, well, it's like, well, if nobody else had one, we could take a tanker, redistribute it, maybe help Morton back, whoever, and just be like, instead of being a needy group always needing tar, we could be one that could help out too, just that,
Yeah.
I think that was the overall
system.
idea, I mean, it just, you either helping out or other people are helping you out, so I think that was the idea where it's like, well, if we had our own tank, maybe Strasburg or Hazelton would come back on board with the tar type substance, you have them going, and now you have a system where you can make it work, I mean, that was the vision.
Yeah.
Whether or not it's gonna work or not, depends on if you can get it together and you can manage it and work with the other guys,
So
so.
maybe we split with another county if it's,
Well, that's what I mean, you're just
Yeah.
you're gonna have to work with
Expense-wise
somebody or
and
not
everything,
do
you
it,
know?
so.
that way you're not eating this whole big bill and giving tar away to all these places that, you know, you.
What does Macintosh do? They got all that tar.
They actually just bought, when we were there for LTAP, they had a tank laying there they had just gotten. And it was on the ground as well, not put
So
together.
they're doing the same thing we were doing, so that's what I'm telling you.
Going round and round in circles.
Well,
trying to
cause I'm
figure out
sure they were
what's
going to
working
the DOTs like we were, and now that they're getting shut down, now they gotta figure something out, so it's not, we're not the only ones with the problem, we're not the only ones looking for a solution, so I just.
Be a good six county meeting agenda item, see what the other counties are doing, or where they're getting their stuff, or put that on the old agenda for the next
It'll
six
be
counties.
here.
Huh?
It'll be here.
Maybe we should have it next to the tank. That way it'd be a chief talking discussion right away, just, see this tank, you guys need to help us fill it, let's do it.
Yeah, right.
Not a bad idea, cause I'm sure they're all struggling too, I mean, yeah, maybe Wells and some of them, cause everybody's got more pavement than we do. We're like one of the
yeah.
few counties that doesn't have 100 miles of
Yeah,
pavement, so they gotta have ways to figure it out.
Bring it into the courthouse, cause we're having a
Yeah, but set it right
There
behind
you
there.
go,
right
let's
there.
just take a bus and take them out to the tank.
Here, that's,
Yep.
And another thing, there's guys that compare the roads, Russ, that 8 mile corner, 8 mile road from Westfield down to the corner down by Larson.
yeah.
And the guys from South Dakota, they said, well, that was a tar road going into South Dakota. What do you mean? Don't you listen, now I remember going down to Pollock,
Oh, yeah.
that
it
was
used to be
tar.
paved.
They said that got so potholed up. They lifted it and they ground it up, didn't they? And then they placed it back down on that road.
Yeah.
They said that's why that road is so firm,
Yeah.
because they've got a tar base under it for pavement. And they laid all that tar back down and it chips.
Oh, they milled
And it's
it,
packed
laid it
in, they
back
milled
on
it,
the
laid
road.
it back.
So it does, it's gonna be
Makes a
better.
better
It's
road
gonna
than
be
blacktop
better, you
road,
know?
to be honest with you.
True, but ours needs to
It needs to be
definitely
addressed and
step
worked on.
up, I mean, we might not be as good, but we can be comparable,
Better than
I
that.
think we need to do
Yeah,
some
it was
work there.
just bad, it was like this.
Yeah, and it needs, the shoulders need to be pulled on that road,
Yeah,
all the way to Rice Lake to the highway, to be honest with you, it just,
yeah.
I can't wait till we pull a shoulder and get 5 inches of rain and see what
Oh, my God.
the mess is there, you know?
You can ask guys on that road there by the gravel pit that traveled that road. From the road that goes east by, where would it go by? Eric Holm, those guys.
Oh, yeah.
From there south past Mike Knoll where the gravel pit's at, they pulled them shoulders up and they got rain. Holy right. There was soup like this, you know? But now it firmed up and it's good. but it's a mess.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you'll see, yeah. Anything else?
Nope, I don't.
Anybody else?
Thanks, Russ.
Thanks, Russ.
Thanks,
Appreciate it.
Russ.
See you guys.
Good luck.
And then Joe, I'll swing in and get a hold of you or something, okay?
Next thing is Jim Wagner, Cattail Baker. Hey, Jim.
Hello, gentlemen.
Yes, sir.
I just got a couple things to bring up. I'm just wondering what the concrete status is on that 2 miles from the highway to past Larry Vanderhorst. You guys were gonna crush concrete it or something?
Yes. Yeah, that is in the works, yeah,
It
we have
is?
to figure out which way we're gonna go. If we're gonna bring the clay in ourselves 100%, or, there's been a few guys out there looked at it, we talked about possibly, what the deal is on that is according to the engineers, the box culvert that's there, right to the east of Larry there, or right by his feedlot. According to John, we can't add any more weight on top of that box culvert.
That's great.
So, we're gonna have to build the road up from the highway, basically about 250 feet. He's got a 500 stretch marked out to where the road is gonna actually do this.
Belly.
And we're gonna have to figure a way, the best thing we can do there. I'm scared, to be honest with you, even with this concrete stabilization, that when you get them dips like that, when you got them trucks continuously pounding that, coming through, pounding that initial, eventually you break through it and, but it is all in the works. When it's gonna happen, we don't have a definite answer for you yet.
Okay, but it is in the works.
Yes,
Yeah.
yep.
I don't wonder why they didn't figure that in when they were doing the engineering on it, to replace that box culvert for more volume on top. The cost, I'm sure.
Yeah, I don't know.
Well, with applying for that SRF funding that we got awarded too, there's a max on how much they pay. Cause
Yep,
we
yep.
only can be awarded, I think it's it's a 60-40 match up to $300,000. So,
There's only so much. you
same
can do.
thing too, if you, there's like a cost window that has your most likelihood of probably getting accepted to. You don't want, I don't, it's either, it was cost prohibitive or maybe they weren't sure until they, cause now that it's awarded, now they can go into like a deeper, like, you have like a rough estimate to apply for SRF funding, then when you get it, then they go through and actually do, so now that they're really focusing, they probably realized it now versus when we applied for it, that was
Okay.
probably just maybe an assumed that it'd be okay.
Yep.
And now that they looked at it and did whatever they need to do and dug deeper into the engineering, now they're finding out that it's probably not gonna work the way they thought.
Yeah.
Cause I know with the SRF funding, same thing with that, with the cattail reroute,
Yep,
that
yep,
deal.
Yep,
The SRF funding, you just need to have a plan and like a rough estimate, like cause that's why they do the cap at 300,000, they're like, well, whatever, if you wanna do a $10 million project, fine, but you're only getting 300 grand, so you don't stick a ton into the engineering until you get the project, then you decide if you wanna spend the money or not, so. I'm assuming that's why I didn't get caught, like, before they applied.
That's why a lot of this is all.
Generally, that's probably the understanding, so.
Kind of a catch-22 though.
So, yeah.
Well, then that's my next question. I know last fall, or late last summer, we had a meeting in here. And you had said you sent something, to an engineer in Bismarck about possibly getting the price on paving from highway to, the boat dock. Did that anything ever come out of that?
Well, I think that's why we settled on the concrete stabilization, because when they gave us just like a rough estimate, I thought they told us like $10 million. It was it was way, way more than anybody, cause even when we had talked to like Seaview and them, when they had talked about possibly wanting a cost share, and then when we found out it was gonna be like $10 million, and so I think
So
what
has
happened.
anybody ever talked to Seaview?
Well, I don't know, I mean, I've talked to guys at Seaview, I don't know if I've talked to the guys that can, make commitments with Seaview, like I've talked to like Jody Ketterling and those guys down there, but I don't know if they, they can tell you what their opinion is, or they can maybe
Well,
chase it up the ladder.
Maybe
but
you guys gotta go a little higher than that.
Well, I just know that when talking to Jody about it, I know that their consistent opinion is that they would be like, they would partake, but they're not gonna like pay for half of it or nothing, like the kind of money that we would expect them to generate so that we could afford it, I don't think they would even consider, like, I mean, we'd be asking them for millions.
Yeah, but is 10 million what it would cost from the highway into there?
Well, I
Or
mean,
is that
not,
just-
not without paying for like a actual, like, hardcore engineering estimate, which would probably cost $100,000 just to get that number. We just, basically just asked them, like, you know, do you have a number? Cause I mean, the thing used to be saying like $1 million a mile, right? That used to be like the number that they would just throw out and you'd go, okay, well, if it's 5 miles, it's gonna be $5 million. Their statement was that they were already looking into the concrete stabilization and finding out that the dirt underneath that road is terrible. So in order to even get that road worthy of paving would be way more than just your standard, like, $1 million a mile talk or whatever. So that's why he said, just to be safe, you'd have to go wider, which means you'd have to purchase more easements. He just was basically saying that roughly compared to, like, I think he compared 2 other projects that were that, and they were like $8 million, and he said, so, that's where he just.
You're talking in where the road is now past the potato farm.
Well, the idea
5
would have been,
miles.
originally would have been to go from 1804 into basically like the boat dock, or at least like the bridge where the, like before the mailboxes, like somewhere, basically all the way past through like Seaview's housing, their shops.
Yeah.
And then, and that's where we just were like, well, I can't remember the exact mileage, and then he said, well, part of that was prepped because they did that project from like the mailboxes in, you know, a few years ago, that would be ready to pave pretty easy, but the stretch that we're doing concrete stabilization from the highway
To the mailbox.
into at least, is that 90?
2 miles, yeah.
That 2 miles, he said, would be terrible to pave because the amount of work it would take to, and that's why we landed on the concrete stabilization, cause the idea was you might be able to utilize that to pave later anyway, so that would be the cheaper route now, plus it would probably add stabilization to possibly help paving it, cause that's where we had the discussion about how wide we wanted it, and we agreed we wanted to make it paving width yet, if we wanted to pave it
Ever
in
do
the
it.
future, so,
And there's the thing, and correct me if I'm wrong, Aaron,
yeah.
to get a number like we talked, you guys, to get a number from an engineering firm, they're not gonna do it for nothing just to give us a number.
Well, no.
You know, it's gonna cost us a chunk of change, right?
Well, that's what I mean, like, there's a difference between asking them for just their engineer's opinion of what it's gonna cost versus going through and, like you said, if they're gonna go and get survey data, get soil data, and see, that's why a lot of that stuff doesn't happen till after you've secured some funding, because then you're going, part of it is usually for engineering fees, and then they can dive in, and, cause otherwise, like you said, you spend $100,000 just to find out you can't pave it, you spent $100,000 on doing that, and I'm not saying you shouldn't do it, but most people generally go, well, I don't wanna go that
But there's
far.
possibility of bringing a road in another way instead of going by the potato farm, cause there's at least 1,000 semis that go on that road every spring and fall.
I would agree.
Well, you can see it, I was out there, who was out there?
I know it.
Oh, I met Russ out there, and we were on site when we went, met up with Darius there on that proposed location cutting straight across from Cattail going straight out to 1804, just on the south side of Ryerson's place. That road is so beat up, I mean, there's holes in that like this from these semis hauling all that freight out of there. Yeah, it's insane, huh?
The thing is, Dan, from the highway coming straight in, you have 1 mile of no road. Then you have a mile of section line. And then you got the mile going on the cattail that's pretty much ready for pavement, needs a little grooming. So you only have 1 mile of road, of non-existing road, versus coming that 5 miles in and letting those semis beat that road up. And what needs to be done is, that 3 mile stretch needs to be put in and get all the people that are driving into cattail, boats, campers, away from these semis. When RDO first started out there, they had 800 acres of potatoes, and I worked with Keith McGovern, he was running RDO. He said there'll be 800 to 1,000 semis on that road every year, 800 acres of potatoes. Now they're doing 2,000 acres of potatoes. You do the math, all those semis are in there. There's corn coming out of it, there's beans coming out of it, there's a feedlot with cattle coming in out of it. We're dealing with 2,500 semis at least a year. And, you know, Dan, you were out there, you seen how that dust hangs by Larry's
Oh
place?
yeah, I seen that when you guys last fall there. It's a valley of
That's
dust,
an accident there.
especially when there's no wind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That just hangs.
It's an accident waiting to happen.
It's like where I live, that lake, these semis go by, that just hangs there.
Yep. You know, and you're in that dust driving, and you can't stop.
You can't see.
No, you can't stop because you're worried about getting from behind by a semi, and you don't know if there's another one coming in the front.
Yep.
You know, it's dangerous as hell, especially in the fall. The last 3 months, in the fall, 3 months in the fall is just, it's full of semis.
It's, I know, it's tough.
And, you know, that's the only boat dock in Emmons County that doesn't have a paved road to it. And it's the only one that has businesses at the end of it, and the only one that has residents at the end of it, and it's not paved.
Well, what did you guys were talking that day when I was out there? You weren't there, but we met up with him. You talked about, was it US Game and Fish, or who would be willing to allocate money, or, and what percentage would they be willing to?
Dave Piatz told me he was gonna meet with the director of Game and Fish. They wanted to help with that road.
Yep.
And he asked me to go to that meeting with them. That meeting hasn't happened yet. But when we put that gravel road in, that goes in Cato, that 1 mile, Game and Fish, that road cost a little bit over $300,000. Game and Fish paid for a third of that. You know, Cavendish is willing to pay, Game and Fish is willing to pay. But you can't go ask somebody for money if you don't have an amount. I mean, if I come to you guys and say, I want some money, you guys say, how much? I don't know. What are you gonna give me? That's where we're at with Game and Fish and Cavendish. We don't know what to ask for. How much?
So are they willing to go in on the engineering of it?
That's
And
what
pay a
it's-
percentage of it all?
That's,
A third, and a third, or whatever, I don't know,
that's something a guy would have to ask.
you know?
That's good.
I know, but a third of a third of 300 grand is a lot less than a third of 10 million, or even if it's, let's just cut it in half, it's 5 million, I mean, that's a lot of money.
Money,
That's where
But
this-
I don't believe it would be 10 million to come in 3 miles.
I mean,
I don't know.
I don't know either, that's why we asked Wold just his opinion, I mean, so like I said, even if he's wrong and it's 5 million, I mean, we're going through this budget right now, I don't know how we would do it without borrowing the money or bonding, which means we put the county in debt, and I don't know how you service the debt, cause we're pretty much maxed out on just what we can.
But you're also saying 10 million on the road that's there, right? That 10
Well,
million
that
figure was the road that's there currently.
That road that's there would need a lot of work to get it to
Right.
pave, that's.
So, when
it's-
they gave you a $10 million figure though, it was for the road that's already there.
Yes,
correct? Right.
Right.
So this, a guy should maybe ask them, give us a rough estimate on this 3 miles instead of the road that's already there, cause we're talking a lot more mileage. Just for a starting point.
I agree, I mean, the hardest part about it too is, I mean, even that new stretch where they built the new fish cleaning station and went into cattail, like, it's very difficult to get someone to wanna go in, because if that was the case, they probably would've built that road and maybe considered paving it, like, they just don't consider paving it, cause it's just so expensive.
I went through that,
Mm-hmm,
and I was told that they will not have gravel between 2 sections of pavement.
right,
You know, when we put that in, we wanted it paved right away, and they said, no, you gotta first pave the rest, the other part of the road into
Coming
that.
in.
right.
How did it ever happen on Langler Bay? How did that ever come out that they?
Well, you'd have to look into how that, cause that's been paved for years, right, I mean, that's.
County paved that.
County paved
Yeah.
that.
County paved it.
County
Yep.
paved that.
His uncle paved that. Nick. He was running the show there. He wasn't the superintendent at that time, he was working for the county at that time.
Okay.
I know he was down there paving that.
But something should be done that we can stay away from all that traffic past that potato farm.
I wish the Spud Boys,
Or-
Potato Farm would take care of that.
Well, maybe somebody has
The way
to
they
talk to
beat it
them.
all up.
Maybe somebody has to sit down and talk with them.
Man,
You know, something should be done before there is an accident, the way the dust does hang.
because when it happened, we had that 10-day rain, when they went up that road there by Leo Bachmeyer with a loaded semi. I'm sure he was overweight, and he jackknifed. And I think you sent me a picture, that holy crap, where's this at, by Leo Bachmeyer going east up the hill on the Federal Aid Road. A disaster. And then I think they pulled him out, and then he took the highway, didn't he?
I don't know.
I don't know what it, did he? Okay,
Probably,
yeah, it's,
But it'd be good to get the ball rolling on something like that.
It'd just be good to get a number to go to Game and Fish, go to Cavendish, and see what they're willing to do.
Be better if the truck stayed off a little bit and built the road, oil road.
well, that road would have to be,
Yeah.
Well, the trucks
that-
will-
I mean, they can't get on that road with these semis in,
That's right.
but they still would use it.
No,
Yeah, that'd be
No.
hard to patrol.
It'd be easier for them to use tar than the gravel going out loaded or coming in.
if you put a new highway in,
They'll wreck it.
Yeah, they'll
wreck
wreck
it.
it.
I mean,
And it'd have to be a restricted road.
that's right.
Yeah, there you go. Otherwise, you're gonna really have
That's
to put
right.
a layer on
And there's no reason for them to come in that way.
1804.
No.
There's no reason for them to come in that way, and then they gotta cross that bridge. I don't know how much weight limit that bridge is, you know, that's where the mailboxes are, where all their housing is, so that wouldn't be an option for them to come in that way, I don't believe.
I think most of them projects, when you do paving, especially if there's like state or federal funds, I think they design it for like 105.5
it.
or
That's what I
100.
was thinking.
You know, so I mean, it would be illegal
Then they
up
would be
to a
legal.
certain, right,
Yeah.
I mean, they design them to be like, basically like. a regular-
The whole freight.
Well, right, I mean, that's what you do, you design it for 105.5 and then you expect them to, you know, follow the rules, so, I mean, just like anybody else.
And
so.
you can't restrict it, can you? From freight being moved on?
No.
Why can't you?
Well, wait a minute.
Because it's federally funded.
There ain't no federal money there yet.
Well, I'm just saying it'd probably come into play though.
You can restrict the road.
I believe if you
Joe,
talk,
can you restrict the road?
I suppose it depends on, you know, what the people who pay for it want you to do. You know, if there's any conditions to the funding, you know, so we're not there yet, but.
We're a long ways from it, but yeah.
I really believe that they would not use that road for semis, Cavendish. I really do not believe they would.
Just a road to look at is 13 going west. That's not the same as 13 going east. You can't haul in load restriction times, you can't, you know.
You can, but they do
It
after
doesn't have
midnight.
enough stuff on it.
Well, no, I think are we talking about two different things? Are we talking about load restrictions in the spring, or are we
Right.
talking about permanent restrictions? That's where I'm curious, cause I thought you meant like you were gonna keep semi-traffic off it, like, I mean, I don't think you
Yeah, I
can do
don't
that
know
if
how
you're
you
taking
can do
state
that
and
either.
federal funds, you
You
can't
can.
restrict it, like, I mean, you can restrict it, like you said, from a certain window if like frost's coming out and stuff, but not,
Right.
you know, if they wanna haul on it in July, I don't think
You
you can
can't
stop them
stop it, I
if you're
don't
taking state and federal.
You're
funds.
keeping them off of 1804 and 13.
Well, they use 1804 and 13, they're just supposed to be at
Not
what,
when they're loaded.
80,000 or something like
80,000.
that, or I think.
They don't, they use a Strawberry Grove when they're loaded.
That's why they use the gravel.
Yes.
Yeah.
They don't.
Because there's no restrictions on the gravel to get to 83.
Right. And they don't run 1804 and 13 end loaded.
But they use 1804
They come
to
out
come
empty.
off the gravel and come south to get the farm to market.
For a
That
mile.
That road was built up.
Oh, what?
That mile?
Yes, that was
Those
built up
waters
like
like
83 is.
Because I know there's a lot of freight, I would say, that moves after midnight on these roads coming out of bid sites.
That's up to the law then, not, you know.
The law, yeah, if you don't get caught, yeah. But anyhow, yeah.
I'd sure like you guys think about it, consider it, you know, we can ask if they'd be willing to pay for a third of the engineering, game and fish and cabinets. We can find that out and let you know. But, one more thing I'd really like to say is I appreciate watching you five guys work. You are doing one hell of a good job. You're getting along, you're getting things done. And that man right there is helping get them done. And, doing a hell of a job.
Yep, thank you.
Thank you for that.
Yeah, I was gonna agree, we're seeing blades moving, we're seeing gravel trucks going, and every time them blades go across, them roads are getting better. You know, and you can't expect a guy to fix 3 years of neglected roads. in 3 months, ain't gonna happen.
With
So-
7 to 9 inches of rain.
Yeah,
it
stuff's
didn't help.
happening, it's looking, our road is out there, haven't had gravel put on, and every time that blade runs across, it's mixing that gravel, and it's getting better.
Gotta give it time, you know?
You got your spots, like Russ said, that you gotta wait your turn and get it fixed when you can, but at least the blades are moving, stuff's getting done.
Thank you.
So hats off to you guys.
You bet, hats off to all you guys.
Thanks for bringing that up.
Yep. 'Cause there's a
This
lot of
spring driving
criticism.
around, it almost looked like I wasn't in Emmons County, cause we seen blades in gravel trucks. For the last 4 years, we didn't see it.
Rarity,
So, I mean, great job.
And time, room for improvement, no doubt, for everybody.
Darius, let us
Gotta
know,
work together, you know? Thank you.
let us know what you find out if the game and fish and.
Yeah, find out, you guys.
Yeah, if they would
Alright.
pay.
We're working together, you know?
Okay,
Yeah.
I'll talk to somebody and then get a hold of one of you guys.
Yeah, okay?
Sounds good.
Thanks for coming in again.
Thanks.
Appreciate
Thanks
it.
a lot.
Jim.
Have a good Fourth.
You too.
You bet.
I'll visit with you later.
Yep, okay.
See you then.
We'll see ya.
You should've sent those donuts to Russ.
Huh?
You should've sent those donuts.
Yeah, Jim,
To Russ.
There's nobody in.
you want a few donuts? Looks like you're getting a little late, huh?
Tell Russ to come back here and grab a box.
Tell him you don't need it.
A little more weight in the blader won't hurt.
Let's see, what do we got? 145, where's Dan Mock?
I don't know if he's coming or not. He told me to put him on, I did, but I,
How's this utility permit, all good to go, right, Roger?
What do you wanna do, jump to the?
We got a utility permit, do we not?
You wanna do that?
Well, we might as well.
Okay, let's do that utility permit.
What's that?
So usually Russ checks that out.
Oh, he didn't check it out?
Russ checked it out, now you guys need to approve
He
it.
did, okay, I'll
What's
make a
that,
motion.
utility permit?
Yeah, I'll make a motion to approve that utility permit, Russ checked.
With Ken Electric, it's all approved?
Yeah, Russ. did it.
Gardner motion, second.
Yeah.
Miller, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Dan Mock, not in.
You got road restrictions up here.
Yeah, what's that all about?
I brought that on the agenda.
Go ahead.
I was doing some reading in Dutton County as part of our homework. Up in that northwest corner of the state, they have road restrictions when they get, say, 20 hundredths of rain. And they'll keep it off until the roads dry out for travel or trucks or whatever they state. Is that something we can do? Say we get people on text messages and email list. Part of, say, south of 13 gets a rain event. Can we send a text message or an email out to those people on our list not to travel until further notice? Just to save our roads?
Well, I don't know, I think it's gotta be a team effort by everybody.
You could suggest it, I guess.
Yeah, the question is, I mean, a weight limit restriction on a road,
Well,
I could imagine that
The
would.
system's already created though. I mean, I'm pretty sure that I think it's load pass that manages it.
well, there's grain
And-
farmers, I'm sure, not on load pass.
Right, but there's a system, cause there's 5 or 8 counties or something up in the northwest part.
Right.
And I wanna say it's called Wise Roads Program, and what they
Okay.
have is they have like a series of rain gauges, and they're like
Yes.
digital rain gauges, and then as they come in, it like feeds data in. And then I don't know if it's like a central hub, or if it's like individual road superintendents, but then they have a system where they'll have like, if it's like 20 high, like a quarter inch of rain, they'll
Right.
put a restriction like on weight. If it goes any higher than that, they'll close a road, and then it's closed for like a certain window, like 24 hours or 12 hours, or, I don't know if they close it, but they close it to like truck traffic and stuff.
Right,
Like, I think light
right.
vehicles still, it's,
Right.
but like,
Still
and
gotta
then, so
work.
then what they do is that's like a road restriction system, and then if they catch someone on the roads while it's restricted, then there's a levy
Fine.
system and they
Right.
can fine them, so, but I don't know, you know, if none of our neighbors are in it, like, do we have to buy the rain gauges, can we even be a part of it, I don't know, I
Well,
wanna say we
there's-
talked about it last fall, and then it kind of just never
If
materialized.
you get on your computer, you can get like a rainfall app on your phone even. You can
Yeah.
touch that area, it shows how much rain that place
There you
got.
go.
If you could somehow register that with a system to, when it gets to be so much rain, send a notice out.
Well, could this, but not so last, but the superintendent, could he get it on the system?
I don't know, I mean,
I
that's
don't
what we'd have to ask, cause I wanna say it's the WDEA or whatever that runs with Load Pass, right, the West Dakota Energy
Yep.
Association?
Okay.
And I think they call it Wise Roads, and I think it's like a digital system that, it'd be no different than Load Pass, which we're already a part of, so maybe it's not hard to jump into, but then again, we're also not really in a network with them, so maybe we can even join, I don't know, but that's how they manage their road situation.
Cause they claim that's saved that area up there.
Well, they had to because they claimed that the oil field was just, they were running rain or shine, and so they would just go and they would smash a road to bits, and not necessarily, I mean, the oil industry in general, but a few operators,
Yeah.
maybe some guys that were independent contractors, the company might have shut their trucks down, but the guys they hired that came from 2 states away, they went rain or shine, and
Yeah.
they were wrecking roads, and that's what was happening, so.
Now you get them tracks in there.
So, I mean,
Takes
there's,
forever to heal.
that would, the first question would be to probably just get a hold of like WDEA or Load Pass and see if we could even, if they're accepting new members and if we could possibly do it and what it would cost, and then
Go from there.
if that's not an option, then you'd have to conceive a plan B or
Okay.
something.
Do we have road restrictions on gravel?
No, we don't.
We just have the legal weight limits, I guess, but we're not scaling anybody or nothing either,
So
so.
what is the legal weight limit?
Well,
105, isn't it?
I don't, I thought it.
Is it 105 on
I
gravel?
thought it's 80,000 is
I
the
think it's
number,
80
and then,
on gravel.
I
it's
think
80.
gravel
Well,
is
then how are
80.
they hauling 100 and some across?
105 to get to
They know
83
that
is
nobody
800.
Well, and there's different, cause
Depends
the,
on axles too.
I think the federal aid roads might be
Gary's
designed for a
even said
little
they
more.
wouldn't stop people when
Cause that's like a
enforce
highway.
weight in
Huh?
our roads.
That's like a highway.
I
Whatever
think the
you create
federal
for
aid might be more.
non-enforcement.
Look
Yeah,
at
we're not
federal aid
enforcing, I think it's 80, but we're not
Jeez.
enforcing it, cause we don't have scales and
Right.
we don't.
And our sheriff's department won't enforce it, will they?
Well, they
Oh,
need
scales.
scales.
The only
Scales.
county sheriff's department I know that's doing anything was Kidder County, and
Kidder, yeah.
supposedly their sheriffs had death threats and everything, so it's, there's a reason people don't wanna do it,
Yeah,
yeah, no, the
No,
Kidder,
you're
cause
right.
I was at a 6 county meeting, and they
Yeah,
said
they
that
talked about
their
it.
sheriff had it, and he went and dinged a couple guys, and they.
Well, and who was
had some
using the highway
major-
patrol? Somebody was using the highway patrol that.
Yeah.
Over at that
Was
6
it
county
Wells?
meeting over at Napoleon.
Was it
Yeah.
Wells?
It could have been, yeah,
That said the highway patrol came and weighed some,
right.
but yeah, it's,
That gets a little touchy boy with some of these guys.
well, and it's not so much, I think, that they were trying to ding their farmers, they were trying to ding gravel haulers and these other, I mean, they made that pretty clear at 6 County too, it wasn't necessarily to ding farmers and local guys, it was to your contractors that come in and overload gravel trucks where you got it rolling off the sides.
Well, and another problem you're gonna have with a county sheriff's deputy department is, you know, even like with ours, we have what, 4 deputies and a sheriff, well, if you got somebody out pulling scales, they're not really patrolling like they probably should be too, so then you almost need somebody else up, I mean, that's where the.
Well, that's what they said.
Well, that's what the argument always is like, well, then you're gonna need another guy, well, it's like, well, we don't wanna hire another guy just to run
Well,
the scale, so then it always dies, cause it's.
Peter said not everybody can throw these scales around either.
No,
Well, no,
yeah,
it's
They got
not.
one deputy that can throw them around, and nobody else can do it.
And it takes a little bit of training, so you either gotta train the whole department, or you gotta have somebody that's out there
Yeah.
running scales, so that's why it's, the highway department, or the HPs, it works, cause they set up their checkpoints, they have maybe their scale guys that are trained with their pickups that bring the scales out, but
Yeah.
not every HP is doing scale.
Well, the only
with
problem
teamers.
is they park in a spot, and I can guarantee you, the
They're
wind
gonna
gets
avoid
up
that
really
spot.
fast.
Oh, yeah,
People
Later
like
on,
driving
driving
around
around
and stopping
76,
guys
Word gets
Go
around, yeah.
We're just gonna get out, but they don't know if you're gonna sit there, or you're gonna be 10 miles away in an hour.
I mean, the Wise Roads idea, I think, is very valid, and I think it's something we should look into.
Yeah.
But, I mean, really, in the long run, people should be restricting themselves. I mean,
Yeah.
if you're gonna be out there hauling on this stuff, you're gonna wreck the roads, and it's your neighborhood, like,
Yeah, you're gonna be.
They're ruining for you.
I know, so I mean, that's the other thing I would just stress, it's like, instead of trying to bend over backwards with these road restrictions and trying to make it work, it's like, it's
I mean,
people.
you might have 90% of the people in that area do it, but that 10%, they
And
don't.
it only takes one truck, it only takes one truck to ruin it, and it doesn't have to be from the area, somebody making a delivery, and it's, you know, that's,
Yeah.
they're on a 5-hour trip, and halfway there, they got an inch of rain, and they go and make the trip, it's hard to stop at 2, and.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
So I don't know, I mean, it's a very difficult situation with that, just because it's.
It gets ugly. Loading corn in the field, fill it up. It's right on the side of the semi, and you know damn. well you're
Policing,
loaded.
policing people,
Jesus,
you know, the honest people are gonna be fine,
Yeah.
I mean,
I can tell you one thing, just on talking to like with Seaview and stuff about it too, I know they don't, they basically told me that they tend to be the scapegoat, like especially on that road down there. And yeah, they use it, but like, they don't run overweight. I mean, you might get a miscellaneous one, or you might get an oopsie, but their target is to not run overweight, because one, they're trying to be efficient with their time, and a heavy load is harder to haul, and two, they don't have it in their budget to be paying a bunch of fines and stuff, and they don't wanna be on the outs with the locals. So I can tell you that I mean, I'm sure there's times, they probably, so maybe a new guy loading the truck didn't, but their overall idea is not, well, we're trying to sneak in 120,000 on a load here, that's not what they're doing.
and I was told that they don't run after a big rain event.
I mean, like I said, there's outside deals and there's.
That guy screwed up that day.
Well, right, and, but I visited with Jody myself too a couple days ago, and he said, we will not run after a rain event, we're gonna wait, he goes, we know what's gonna happen.
Yep.
You know, you jackknife a semi or you wreck a road.
Well, and they're a
They do
business-
take a lot of heat though for,
Their
I mean,
business
it's just a
just
lot
like-
of traffic, it's a lot of wheels going across there, rain or shine or dry or underweight,
Right.
overweight, it's a lot of wheels.
And there's
Here,
two
take
things
the
to
time.
consider, and that one is that they do a lot of contracting on their trucking, and they're not
Yeah.
always in control of their
Right,
outside
right,
contractor.
right.
And the other thing about it too is they're like any other business, they can't be out wrecking trucks and stuff too, like, it's not just about wrecking the roads, I mean, you can't have guys out there rolling heavy trucks or wrecking their stuff too, it's just like any other
Right.
business, so I feel like that sometimes always gets thrown out as the easy scapegoat, because they are running a lot of weight over them roads,
Yep.
but I don't think they're like.
They're not the problem.
I don't think they're just singularly out there just overloading their
No.
trucks and blasting through the roads.
I think that road out there is just bad, period.
Well, and they're
regardless of
right,
what's
it gets
going
a
across
ton of traffic,
Yeah.
it's been nothing but increased traffic, I mean, they've developed more out there, like, it's a give and take on it too, like, the reason there's so many residences out there is cause they keep building out there
Yeah.
too, so.
Well, like you said last month, we did 4 building permits at Cattail last
Right,
month.
I mean,
I mean, it's constant out there.
nobody's stopping down there, and then they kinda want things to change though, and it's kind of an unfair realization, like, you wanna put a cabin down there, well, the potato farm's not going anywhere, it's been there forever, so if we're gonna build a cabin down there, you might accept the fact you're gonna have to drive across some trucks sometimes, and building a whole separate road so we can have a detour for trucks,
I'd love it, we could put curb and gutter over there.
I mean, we're talking about hardly being able to afford tar and do these things or whatever, but now we're gonna build, I'm not criticizing them guys, they're trying to do what's best from their area. But again, even coming back to these cost share ideas, I think it's real easy to go to US Game US Game and Fish has a budget just like we do. They don't have $100 million laying around to pave roads to boat docks, like, they're more than willing to chip in 50, 100, maybe 200,000-300,000, but if we're talking a $5 million project and we get $1 million from someone else, and we're gonna come up
Well,
with
and
$4
maybe
million.
part of the process is we just need to look at an alternative route, cost-wise gravel to begin with, and see where that leads us to.
Right.
You know what I mean, if we can do 3 miles of new road, gravel, and talk to Seaview and try to keep them off of it, maybe that suffices for a little bit till, you know, I mean.
Maybe there'll be more.
All the avenues,
Well,
I
I
like
just-
the idea that we're trying to go through every avenue, and these guys are willing to talk to people and try to find some matching, but maybe the idea is just look at an alternative route, building a gravel road that's better than what we have right now, and we could try to keep the trucks off, and then continue to better it, move forward, you know?
Can Seaview go on these section line roads, say that 3 or 4 mile stretch, and blade them legally? And can they sign a contract, Joe, to waive all liability onto them and off of us if they're on our county roads?
They can improve the section line if they but they need approval from the commission.
Okay.
But I mean, just the one.
See, I think they had an agreement supposedly with RDO initially, didn't they? All the way into the mile of the blacktop.
I
They
know
even
one year,
maintained, they had a blade when Jerry Singer was on board, he ran the blade for them.
I know they hauled a bunch of gravel.
Yeah.
Years ago.
And he bladed that road, Jerry Singer, till he retired and passed away.
I mean, but that's the main, I just wanna emphasize the main reason that we wanted to go to the concrete stabilization route is because it was a cheaper alternative, but it wasn't gonna be a total waste. If we kept it paving width And we
Yeah.
did all the slope changes, that was all gonna have to happen to pave it anyway.
Yeah.
And that's why we're
Right.
like, well, let's go this route, maybe that will be good enough, and if it's not, a lot of that work is already getting done in preparation for, well, are we willing to pave it? Or did we make just a really good gravel road, and then like you said, you maybe have to explore another route down the road, but it, like, what we're doing with the concrete stabilization is not a waste.
No.
It was just a more viable alternative where we
Yeah.
could get some funding and probably do some of the work ourselves.
Right, we can afford it.
Right, and maybe that's all it will take, so
That
I'd
box
say,
culvert idea though kinda scares me.
That box culvert should be pulled and replaced.
well, but the idea again is just
Right,
the same
no.
scenario. Now you build this thing up with SRF funds and you try and get by on something you can afford. And then maybe you later on you use Prairie Dog, or there's another program that comes out where you can do the box culvert. Well, now you've done the whole road.
Yep.
Now you do the box culvert, now you got something, cause you're probably gonna have to do that box culvert if you wanna pave it again anyway, that's already gonna be a stumbling block.
Yeah.
But now you've done all this, now all you need to do is just get a